A man has just awakened the strongest hidden class in history, but is desperately pressing the delete character button, hoping to permanently delete his game character. It turns out this is a revolutionary holographic game where in-game gold can be exchanged for real US dollars. And if one is lucky enough to get a mythic level item, selling it can provide a lifetime of financial security. Even the ore mined in the game can be traded with real gold and silver. Business-savvy players manipulate market prices by analyzing supply and demand relationships to make a profit. Therefore, when the last game capsule in the world arrived, Yoon Jae-young couldn't wait to log in. His character's nickname is still Dex. As the game Arcadia starts, Yoon Jae-young is transported to the beginner's village. The national server has just recently launched, yet the beginner's village is already overcrowded. Here, teams are formed to level up and trade materials and various items. The first quest for newcomers is to defeat a slime. However, precise operations in a virtual reality game are quite challenging. So the game provides 3 basic skills to help newcomers correct their combat techniques. Yet Yoon Jae-young, known as the god of PC games, immediately shows his extraordinary gaming talent. He uses the simplest execution skill, but makes it feel like a swift sword slash. The second beginner quest is to read 100 books in the library. While most players skim through the books to quickly complete the quest, the protagonist spends days carefully reading each book. This is one of the secrets behind his ascent to the top of the server rankings. However, the NPC librarian can't help but laugh, thinking this person is just pretending to be diligent to deceive himself. Today, after reading the 100th book, the protagonist asks the NPC for the second volume. At this moment, it seems like the NPC is invaded by the highest authority intelligence. She subconsciously retrieves the second volume from the warehouse. Why was the second volume stored separately? Yoon Jae-young is puzzled, but the AI-controlled NPC smirks. This is a special book that only appears when actively borrowed. Yoon Jae-young feels a twinge of suspicion. However, the moment his finger touches the book, the scene switches to the holographic game's internal system, where the highest intelligence, Alice, suddenly experiences a multitude of pop-ups. The hidden quest in the beginner's village is now activated, designating this player as the subject for analysis. The first volume read by Yoon Jae-young contained the story of the adventurer Ezreal's hidden treasure. The location of the treasure is unknown, but it is certain that this item was the most ancient trace of darkness. The second volume he just borrowed clearly marks the location of Ezreal's treasure, hidden in the depths of Aron Lake, near the beginner's village. The next second, the protagonist is teleported to the shore of Aron Lake. After a long observation, he finds no clues. Suddenly, a series of pop-ups flood in front of him. Congratulations, player Dex, for triggering a B+ level quest to find the earliest trace of darkness. According to the document, find and verify the ancient trace of darkness at the bottom of Aron Lake. Yoon Jae-young thinks to himself that currently, the highest difficulty level of the quests in the entire server is only C+. Completing a B+ level hidden quest would make him the top player in the server soon. He leaped towards the lake's surface, and after diving 50 meters, he still couldn't see the bottom. The lake wasn't that big, how could it be so deep? His diving skill upgraded to B level. As he dove more frequently, not only did the depth of his dives increase, but his stamina also increased by 1 point. Yet, Yoon Jae-young had dived 200 meters and still hadn't seen a trace of the lakebed. A weary Yoon Jae-young, looking towards the end of the sunset, began to think about giving up. Who would want to waste their time like this? It's the early days of the game's launch, and other players are leveling up by fighting monsters, while I've wasted so much time improving my diving skill. Most importantly, with a monthly mortgage payment of 920,000 for the game capsule. Yoon Jae-young had hoped to pay it off by selling equipment he found in the game. But the hidden quest was designed just for him. Well, I just hope the reward for the quest is substantial enough. After 10 whole days, Yoon Jae-young finally pulled a necklace from the lakebed. Was this the mysterious artifact Ezreal had hidden at the bottom of Aron Lake? At the same time, a pop-up announced that the diving skill had upgraded to a level. Stamina increased by 1 point and water attribute mastery increased by 10 points. Congratulations to the host for completing the hidden quest and receiving the reward. Shadow Necklace. This item contains the unknown ancient trace of darkness. The earliest trace of darkness. Consider carefully before using. Yoon Jae-young chuckled bitterly. The description of this item sounds like a threat. A pop-up asked, "Do you want to use the shadow necklace?" Yoon Jae-young decisively clicked confirm. The same pop-up asked again, and Yoon Jae-young clicked confirm a second time. Are you really sure you want to use it? Yoon Jae-young's fingers were numb from pressing confirm. Yeah, the pop-up kept persuading him not to use it. I said I'm sure I want to use it. Why are there so many confirmation pop-ups? His ambiguous words made Yoon Jae-young shudder. Who exactly is talking to me? The next second, a huge pop-up appeared. Congratulations! You have changed your profession to the hidden class Bard of Anarchy. Your level system has been cleared, and you have gained new attributes. Plausibility. A new quest has been updated. The moment he saw the quest, Yoon Jae-young's heart sank. Other people's beginner quests are to kill 100 slimes, and my beginner quest is to continuously kill newbie players for 7 days? Yoon Jae-young, while cursing, frantically pressed the character delete button. However, a pop-up indicated that game character was permanently bound to the hidden class, and the deletion failed. Yoon Jae-young's reason for wanting to delete his character was simple. The Bard of Anarchy, his hidden class, not only lacked a leveling system, but also came with such bizarre quests. A leveling system is fundamental to any game. Without it, growth is stunted. Although it doesn't significantly affect combat at the beginning of the server. Over time, the gap between him and other players would become insurmountable. He began to regret. I should have stopped when that lunatic started talking nonsense. Yoon Jae-young lay back, looking up at the simulated sky in the game, lost in thought. Just waiting won't solve anything. After all, it's a hidden class. There must be other uses. Yoon Jae-young searched his status bar for a long time, but found only one difference from others, the addition of a plausibility value. But what exactly is the use of this thing? After reaching a mental breakthrough, a pop-up explained, plausibility is a consumable. The more points consumed, the stronger the host's ability to interfere with this world, even to the extent of artificially twisting the world's laws. To initially accumulate plausibility, one must complete the recent class change quest. Thus, killing newbie players will impact the game's operation, naturally accumulating plausibility. Just as the protagonist was about to draw his sword, someone else beat him to it. What a pity! It could have been a one-hit kill. 3 red-named players stepped forward in front of the newbie, smiling but threatening. Hello, newbies. I am the master of this hunting ground. You are hunting here without permission. After hearing this, Yoon Jae-young was puzzled. The game has just launched, and there are already people monopolizing areas in the beginner's village. The red-named players then threatened. Judging by your accents, you must be from Seoul. Plus, you were just talking about a mock exam. So you must be students. Just a little search of your usernames, and we could easily find out where you live. So, if you don't want to get killed, roll out from the monster's spawn point. The students immediately sought help from the surrounding players, but were met with indifferent stares. One student tried to argue. It's just a game. Is it necessary to go this far? The thugs paused for a second, then burst into laughter. You're right. What a great game, free from any legal constraints. Isn't this world all about the survival of the fittest? Suddenly, with a thud, the thug's lower leg was severed from his body. It was because Yoon Jae-young had come to his senses. You might be trash, but I think you're absolutely right. One after another, Yoon Jae-young's execution skills were precisely unleashed. His movements fluid, almost as if man and machine were one. 3 level 12 red-named players were instantly killed and forcibly logged off by the game system. The moment the protagonist's blade was drawn, his ID in the beginner's village was never green again. A pop-up congratulated him for gaining 3 points of plausibility, just as Yoon Jae-young had guessed. Each had provided 1 point of plausibility, although he didn't know how to use it. Collecting it was not easy. At this moment, the students, as if they had found a savior, said, "Thank you for saving us. We really don't know how to repay you." Yoon Jae-young's expression was calm and detached. "There's nothing to thank me for. After all, I still have to kill you guys. Buddy, don't be too sad. Like you said, it's just a game." The next second, 2 student players were slain by Yoon Jae-young with a single sword strike. Plausibility increased by 2 points. Yoon Jae-young turned and smirked at those behind him. "Good. Now it's your turn, the bystanders. You shouldn't have any complaints, right?" After a dozen screams, the whole forest fell silent. From that day on, a rumor circulated on Arcadia's official website that a real madman had appeared in the national server's beginner village. At night, which was an efficient time for newbies to hunt slimes in the forest. It also became the fastest place for Yoon Jae-young to hunt new players. To make the holographic game closer to reality, characters' visibility at night was very limited. Characters could also trip over stones while running, triggering a reduced movement speed status. At this moment, the newbie player was no longer the hunter, but the prey chased by Yoon Jae-young. The dangers hidden in the shadows are often the deadliest. Over the days, any newcomer who saw Yoon Jae-young was terrified. Now, the roles of hunter and prey were no longer fixed. The fear of being hunted permeated the entire forest. Newbies couldn't understand why, and the only response they received was his swift swordsmanship. "You're doing this kind of thing at the start of the game's launch. I don't believe the game company won't intervene." Yoon Jae-young suddenly stopped his massive sword. "I will definitely go to the official website and report you." "Heh, you fool." The next second, Yoon Jae-young spoke righteously. "Didn't you see who's behind this?" The green hair player was left speechless. Without giving him time to think, his character was decapitated and forcibly logged off by the system. Congratulations on eliminating a newbie, gaining 1 point of plausibility. Yoon Jae-young coldly eyed the accumulated plausibility points, turned his head, and yawned because hunting newbies day and night was indeed exhausting. In Arcadia, the game's death penalty was a 24-hour login restriction. But at this moment, Arcadia's customer service department was swamped with calls from hundreds of customer service representatives since morning. Moreover, all player complaints were about the same person. The team leader, with a face full of frustration, announced, "Everyone will work overtime today. We must soothe the players' emotions." At this time, Yoon Jae-young had been hunting in the game for 2 days and 2 nights. "Up to now, my plausibility has reached 1025. I wonder if it's really okay to hunt newbies like this. Plus, it's an official quest given to me. Although there are still 4 days left for the quest, doesn't their game operations department have any issues? Anyway, it has nothing to do with me." Just then, a humming noise came from the forest. Slimes in groups approached Yoon Jae-young. The next second, a system notification appeared. "You have rescued slimes in crisis. Your affinity with the slime race has increased." The next moment, Yoon Jae-young, surprised, was overwhelmed by a friendly squad of slimes. Yoon Jae-young actually enjoyed it. "I'm no longer popular with people, but getting along with you guys isn't bad either." However, suddenly several torches appeared in the dark jungle. As Yoon Jae-young heard the voices of some players, he gently stroked the slime's forehead and said, "Little guys, you better run away." It turned out that Green Hair, who was yesterday, came back with his roommates and patrolled the forest all night, finally spotting that familiar figure. "Brothers, let's go. It's that man in the black robe." To buy time for the slimes to escape, Yoon Jae-young ran in the opposite direction until he saw a glimmer of light ahead. When he reached it, he discovered it was the edge of a deep cliff. 5 players immediately blocked his path. Green hair triumphantly said, "Looks like the fish in the pot can't run now." "Can you?" "Kid, watch how I humiliate you." Yoon Jae-young scoffed disdainfully and decisively fell backwards off the cliff, choosing to jump off as the five watched in shock. This guy must really be crazy. However, as Yoon Jae-young jumped off the cliff, a sinister smile suddenly appeared on his lips. The next instant, he clicked the logout button, safely logging off. The next morning, videos about the madman were all over major video websites, sparking lively discussions among netizens. Of course, the discussions included many keyboard warriors. Since Greenhair was hunted by the protagonist, he started paying attention to the official website. He discovered that there were over 700 such complaints. So, he decided to organize a counter-hunting campaign. If any players are interested, please wait in the channel I've created. Just minutes after the post went up, more than a dozen players who had grudges against the protagonist gathered in the newbie village square. Greenhair announced, "Guys, we're starting the crusade against the troller campaign now." But as soon as the campaign started, it triggered a village-wide quest in the newbie village. Suddenly, all players in the newbie village saw the same quest pop up. The biggest charm of the holographic game Arcadia is its ability to generate storylines based on user actions. It captures not only in-game messages, but also stories from online discussions, and realizes them in the game. And it was all thanks to the game's AI overmind Alice. The main storyline quest, Brewing Forgotten Darkness, was triggered. With the quest notification, all players in the newbie village captured the unidentified serial butcher. After sleeping for 12 hours, Yoon Jae-young finally woke up. As soon as he opened the official website of Arcadia, a look of indescribable frustration appeared on his face. Special event by the official, Bounty Hunter, Capture the Butcher. Surprisingly, there were over 2,000 comments below. Did I make 2,000 enemies while I slept? Do I really have to give up on the newbie hunting quest? Glancing at the expensive game capsule bought on high installment next to him, how am I going to pay off the 920,000 monthly installment? Thus, Yoon Jae-young logged into the game, and looking at the forest where the slimes lived, he sighed. This is such a perfect place for hunting newbies. Just then, a battered slime approached him, seemingly chased by adventurers. I told you not to choose the mage class. You can't even chase down a wounded slime. When the two newbies found the slime, they discovered another player standing nearby. The warrior advised, "Sir, this is our prey, and it's unethical to steal kills." Yoon Jae-young glanced at the slime, and seeing its pitiful eyes, his gaze suddenly became icy. He put on his hood and walked towards the two. "Sir, are you really going to fight us?" The mage felt a sense of familiarity. This guy's very familiar. Seeing that the protagonist did not stop, the newbie warrior immediately stepped forward and pushed him. But the protagonist remained silent. The next second, Yoon Jae-young smirked mischievously. As the system gave the newbie warrior a red name punishment for initiating an attack. Yoon Jae-young took this opportunity to lie on the ground and play the victim. "Brothers in the woods, come out. I'm down. The butcher from the official website is right in front of me." The next moment, thousands of eyes turned towards the source of the sound, their desire for the event rewards fully displayed. Just as the red-named warrior was about to make excuses, Yoon Jae-young had already fled with the slime. The newbie mage's mind finally cleared. I knew this man in the black robe looked familiar. He's the newbie butcher posted on the official website. But by the time he realized it, it was too late. The edge of the cliff suddenly burst into brilliant flames due to the altercation. Elsewhere, Yoon Jae-young fled deeper into the forest with the slime. "Little guy, you are finally safe now. Your wounds should heal automatically, right?" A pop-up then announced. "Congratulations on rescuing the slime. Your affinity with the slime species has reached the maximum value, earning the title Slime's Friend." Predictably, after all, Yoon Jae-young had slain over 1,000 newbies at the slime habitat. Just as Yoon Jae-young wondered what use having a level 1 slime species affinity could possibly have, another pop-up appeared. Plausibility has reached the minimum threshold. You have formed a cooperative relationship with the slimes, and you can use plausibility to aid the slime species. Aid in what sense? He stared at the slime's information window for a moment, then looked at his plausibility score of 1025. And a wicked idea suddenly sprouted in his mind. This game is truly insane. So-called plausibility can actually be used like this. The next second, Yoon Jae-young clicked confirm, using all 1025 plausibility points. Acting through his hidden class, Bard of Anarchy, he channeled all the plausibility into the slime. An instant later, a beam of golden light shot up into the sky, illuminating the entire forest. A pop-up announced that the entire slime species' base ability values had been altered. All slimes in the newbie village had been upgraded to level 15. Wild monsters are an essential part of the game, serving as whetstones for newbies to practice on. However, while a level 1 newbie has 100 hit points, the level 15 slime now possesses 150 attack power. Newbies logging into the game for the first time often think of slimes as perfect practice targets. Unbeknownst to them, the unassuming slimes are insanely powerful. A level 1 newbie merely touched by a slime would immediately meet their demise, receiving a 24-hour login restriction penalty as well. From that moment, the entire newbie village was thrown into chaos. The roles of hunter and prey permanently switched, with newbies, not slimes, now being the ones hunted. But this was exactly the scenario Yoon Jae-young wanted to see, because each slime-enhanced newbie kill added to his plausibility score. Moreover, originally passive and less attacked, the slimes now began actively hunting newbies due to their enhancement. The slime's attack characteristics had all changed due to the enhancement. Thus, Yoon Jae-young began to ponder. So his plausibility score essentially changed the game, didn't it? Perhaps this ability was more complex than he had imagined. But then he thought, isn't this what makes the game fun for me? In just 2 hours, his enhanced slimes had slain over 3,000 newbies. This efficiency was 4 times what Yoon Jae-young had achieved before. It seems the task of killing newbies is meant to tell me to keep strengthening slimes, then rely on them to amass a large amount of plausibility, right? But when Yoon Jae-young tried to use plausibility to further enhance the slimes, the system suddenly indicated that the enhancement had failed. Well, the efficiency is high enough now, so little guys, the task of grinding is yours. Meanwhile, Arcadia's storyline planning team was in turmoil. But the team leader was convinced that the situation inside Arcadia was not due to a system error. After all, this was a world calculated by cutting-edge modern technology, where everything proceeded according to plan. So, he decided to log in himself to check. Level 3 access confirmed. Kwon Myung-han's executive identity verified. Entry permitted. But the team leader didn't enter the Arcadia game world. Instead, he went to consult with the game's AI brain center, Alice. On the other hand, Yoon Jae-young logged into the game, ready to see his harvest. However, he discovered that the slime forest was completely empty. A total of 9,640 newbies have been hunted. Yoon Jae-young was clearly dissatisfied with the result, suspecting that news of the danger in the newbie village had spread online, even attracting adventurers above level 15 to hunt slimes there. In short, the bonus had disappeared. Although the rate of increase had slowed, it had not stopped completely. Not until Yoon Jae-young's kill count reached exactly 10,000, a pop-up congratulated him on eliminating 10,000 newbies and awarded him the title Beginner Killer. Congratulations, you have exceeded the set task reward range, and an intermediate reward chest is being settled early. That's a pleasant surprise. Let's see what's in as Yoon Jae-young clicked to claim the chest. A surge of dark power suddenly erupted from it, and a terrifying oppression faced with the appearance of a dark spot. The surrounding space began to crumble and disintegrate. Could the reward be this black orb? A crack appeared in the center of the black orb. In the next instant, the crack tore the orb apart, and a force of destruction spread around. A demonic shadow emerged from the crack, its innate murderous intent instilling a deep fear. His deep, hoarse voice could not hide the evil and cunning on his face. Who are you? Daring to summon me? Yoon Jae-young's cells thrummed with excitement. What exactly have I summoned with such an imposing presence? Seeing the demon's ID, Yoon Jae-young's pupils dilated. His visitor was none other than the chaotic ruler, Satan the Demon King. Satan, with a devilish smirk, said, "It seems I can't be summoned in my complete form, but this will do. Even this little power is enough to wipe out all those angels." But when Satan saw the human in front of him, the air suddenly fell silent. What the hell? Why do I look like this? Being this small is an insult to me, the Demon King. I just opened a game chest, and you were summoned. And the game says you're a summoned demon servant. Satan was dumbfounded. I, a great demon king, have been contracted as a demon servant? This madman didn't even discuss it with me before forcibly sending me here. There's a pile of things waiting for me back in the demon world. Yoon Jae-young hid the frantic demon. Is this guy really Satan the Demon King? Satan muttered, "It's almost over and yet this happens." Utterly speechless. Human, listen well. No matter what, I am now bound by a forced contract to be at your service. I'll be accompanying you for a while. Since I'm here, I might as well make the best of it. Just then, Satan sensed Yoon Jae-young's abilities and immediately became enthusiastic, sizing him up. Jackpot. You actually have such capabilities. Yoon Jae-young was also puzzled. And just then a pop-up appeared. You can use plausibility to unleash the power of the demon servant. But be careful not to be deceived or seduced by the demon. Satan began to negotiate with Yoon Jae-young. You possess the power to change the rules. If you give it to me, I can fulfill all your desires. Yoon Jae-young suddenly thought of plausibility. Could this guy really be craving this value? And what he mentioned about changing rules, does plausibility really have such a use? Satan confidently said, anyway, the use of this power is limited in the hands of a human. Combining Satan's words, indeed, as he said, enhancing the entire level 1 slime species to level 15 is, in a sense, changing the rules. But when I wanted to enhance the slimes again, I couldn't take it any further. And even a character of the Demon King's caliber covets this value. It seems plausibility is indeed a special element. If I give you plausibility, what can you do for me? Satan casually waved his hand, unfolding a magic circle made of ancient patterns. The next second, a purple-black cloak appeared out of thin air. A pop-up appeared. Level 150 equipment. Nargle's Lament, capable of protecting the wearer from a fatal blow. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. The national server opened later than other servers. And the global first in the level rankings is only level 50. And because I changed classes, I don't even have a leveling system. I might not even be able to equip this thing. But Satan took it as, obviously, this little thing won't satisfy you. After all, you are a human who has made a contract with a demon king. At that moment, a light bulb went off in Yoon Jae-young's head. Although he didn't need equipment, he still had a problem at hand. Can you help me enhance monsters? Satan was puzzled. I am a demon king. What kind of monster do you want to enhance? Slimes. Can you help me enhance slimes? That's a bit beneath me, human. Then Satan burst into maniacal laughter. Truly a madman for the ages. Impossible isn't in my dictionary. So how much plausibility are you planning to give me? Yoon Jae-young negotiated. I'm going all in. Fair enough. Then the contract is set. A magic circle, 10 times more complex than before, unfolded beneath Yoon Jae-young's feet. Thunderbolts of destruction descended from the sky above the slime forest, and the ground began to crumble. The slime species in the forest suddenly went berserk. Their inner hatred awakened, turning them all dark. The players were terrified, watching helplessly as countless slimes converged on them. They thought they were doomed, but the slimes that had just rushed and began to converge in one direction. Once all the slimes reached the designated spot, they started to liquefy, all to give birth to a great king who could lead their species. The first level 100 Lord level boss of the server, the Slime Queen, was thus born. Meanwhile, all the players in the newbie village received a pop-up simultaneously. Slimes, the most peaceful species, had inexplicably suffered at the hands of players. After enduring countless times, they finally erupted. Some players who had just been relieved of a 24-hour death penalty logged in only to be sent home again. The protagonist looked at the Slime Queen born from his actions, utterly confused. "What exactly did you do, my little one? I only asked you to help me strengthen the slimes, not to create a boss for me." Demon King Satan proudly explained, "I merely awakened their spirit of vengeance, and it resulted in such an effect. Creating a monarch was their own spontaneous action. Out of the over 8,000 points of plausibility you gave me, I allocated less than 3,000 to the slime species." Yoon Jae-young kept silent, thinking to himself that just this amount of plausibility could evolve a seemingly insignificant species to such an extent. It seems this is where the true power of plausibility lies. The entire newbie village, due to the appearance of the Slime Queen, was forced into a desperate struggle against the slime onslaught. At this time, all players in the newbie village received the same mission. Main quest Brewing Forgotten Darkness activated. With the related mission Slime's Wrath, the victory condition is to protect the newbie village and defeat the Slime Queen within 7 days. If the village's guardian stone is destroyed, the mission is considered a failure, and the newbie village will be permanently destroyed. Looking at the first level 100 Lord level boss, all the newbies were terrified. Yet, looking at the chaotic state of the newbie village, Yoon Jae-young decided to hold his troops back. Satan then suggested, "Just quietly destroy the guardian stone, and wouldn't that end everything?" Yoon Jae-young's response was, "Let's wait and see." Satan began to, "Are you planning to break the crystal at the last moment of the countdown? You're almost as wicked as me." Actually, that's not the case, because since the Slime Queen appeared, Yoon Jae-young's system pop-ups haven't stopped. Congratulations on killing a newbie. Gain 1 point of plausibility. In just a few minutes, he had accumulated an unknown amount of plausibility. But Yoon Jae-young also needed to make a decision. So between players and monsters, on which side? Could he gain more benefits? At this time, the official internal staff were sitting in a meeting room watching this battle unfold. The level 100 Slime Queen has skills like Roar of the Ruler and the never-before-seen Leap. But her trait is continuously generating kin that detest players. The minister was immediately shocked. The servers should be taken down immediately. And how could a level 100 monster appear in a newbie village? Even the lead designer said they had never designed such a monster. We must protest to the head office. Their laissez-faire policy is an abuse of power. The minister fell into deep thought. First, the main plot was suddenly triggered, followed by the inexplicable butcher of newbie's quest. And finally, the rage of the slimes turned into a siege battle for the survival of the newbie village. Could it really not be a bug, but rather triggered by a player's actions? After all, Arcadia itself is a game of infinite possibilities. A statement instantly made all team leaders ponder. After all, based on the discussion of the generation logs, the triggering of the mission was very reasonable. Therefore, the minister decided that regardless of what penalties the mission entailed, perhaps it was also a result of the AI Brainalysis' logical calculations. However, on the battlefield where they were fighting against the slimes, some players inadvertently protected an NPC guard and triggered the hidden class conversion quest for Guardian. It appears that the rage of the slimes brought not only fear but also many hidden treasures. To meet the awakening conditions for the conversion, one must stop the Slime Queen's rampage. Thus, the siege battle continued for 3 days and nights. With half of the 7-day time limit passed, some newbies were bullied by slimes into quitting the game. But there were also experts in the national server. These high-level players, having heard the rumors, joined the battle in droves, forming special action teams. When a character hunts over 10,000 slimes, they earn the most dazzling green title, Slime Slaughter. This title grants an additional 40% damage to slimes and 30% damage immunity. As more and more players acquired the title, the slimes started to lose ground. The newbie players saw hope and rejoined the battlefield, finally seeing a glimmer of light in the darkness. However, the protagonist, who was watching from a dark corner, had accumulated a terrifying amount of plausibility. The pop-up displayed that you have eliminated 32,576 newbies, with still a day and a half left in the mission time. Even Satan couldn't help but praise. Eliminating 30,000 people. Truly a great battle. Not bad at all. Such an evil human player is worthy of being a Demon King's contract partner. Looking at the remaining 20,000 plus points of plausibility, the protagonist pondered how to maximize his profits next. Satan was right. If he continued to do nothing, the human players would probably win. After thinking for a moment, the protagonist's lips curled into a wicked smile. If that's the case, it would be no fun. So, Yoon Jae-hyun once again donned his cloak to conceal his identity. Satan noticed the bloodstains on the cloak. What kind of person was this guy before? However, Yoon Jae-hyun muttered to himself, if I have to take a side anyway, I won't just watch from the sidelines this time. I'm going to stand with the slimes. He had already planned everything in his mind. Only by doing this could he maximize his profits. Meanwhile, the minister arrived at Arcadia's headquarters. Please stop the siege mission. Clearly, President Lee Myun did not agree, as the slime siege in the newbie village was approaching its climax. There wasn't a single slime left in the village, and the siege was only minutes from ending. After all, they hadn't been able to break through the national server experts' defense line all week, and it was unlikely a miracle would happen in the last few minutes. And in 10 more minutes, I will be able to convert into the hidden class guardian. However, just when there were exactly 10 minutes and 0 seconds left until the siege ended, the sky over the newbie village suddenly turned blood red. The protagonist, Yoon Jae-hyun, now in a black robe, made his entrance. So, Slime Queen, let's start together. In the next 10 minutes, all newbies could only endure extreme fear. Wherever the Slime Queen passed, large numbers of newbie players died instantly. She occasionally also split off some slime soldiers to participate in the slaughter of the newbie players. The fear of death finally erupted in the hearts of the newbies. Some brave souls tried to awaken everyone's fighting spirit. But before they could finish their speech, they were slapped to death by the Slime Queen. However, the Slime Queen was not entirely invincible. The strongest adventurer in the national server opened all his mics and shouted, "Everyone, just hold on for 5 more minutes and the siege will be over." The newbies seemed to see some logic in this, because as long as they could keep the Slime Queen's hatred focused away from the Guardian Crystal, they could win the battle. Inspired by the national server's #1, newbie players began to shout, "Even if it costs us our lives, we owe it to our efforts over these 7 days." In the battle against the Slime Queen, the newbies attempted to use a human wave tactic to block her advance, resulting in countless casualties. With only the last 10 seconds of the siege mission remaining, the Slime Queen had not yet reached the range to destroy the Guardian Crystal. In a rage, thousands of players were slapped offline by the Queen. However, just 7 seconds left in the siege, the #1 player on the national server went all out, depleting all his mana to enhance the giant sword in his hands. He then leaped towards the Slime Queen's head. But the next second, a casually activated shield from the Queen sent him flying with a harsh blow. But with only 3 seconds left on the countdown, the national server's #1 player laughed triumphantly, "We are the ultimate victors. The newbie village cannot be permanently destroyed." The severely wounded top player fell beside the crystal pedestal. The last second ticked away, and no miracle was expected to occur. Unexpectedly, half a second later, the Guardian Crystal suddenly shattered. He turned his head in shock, only to see a player in a black robe fiercely plunging a sword into the crystal. A scene he would never forget. Yoon Jae-hyun nonchalantly explained, "Sorry, my hand slipped." At that moment, a server-wide notification appeared. The village's Guardian Stone has been destroyed, the protection mission failed, and the newbie village will be permanently destroyed. The #1 player on the national server turned pale, unable to believe such an ending. After Yoon Jae-hyun pulled out the giant sword, completing the mission, he remarked, "Thankfully, I didn't waste any opportunity to accumulate plausibility points." By the time other players arrived, it was too late. The player in the black robe stood on the shattered crystal pedestal, seemingly proud of his achievement. As expected, Jae-young was bombarded with a barrage of insults, but he scoffed. "You still have the mood to talk like this?" A pop-up announced that the newbie village had been permanently destroyed. Subsequently, the slime queen transformed into a dark purple orb that exploded in the sky, spraying slime in every corner of the newbie village. The falling green slime slowly drifted upwards, gradually coalescing into spherical forms. Could these slimes be consolidating into slimes? It's impossible for monsters to spawn inside the newbie village. Suddenly, 3 thick bolts of lightning struck the newbie village, and at the moment the slime was dispersed. 3 level 80 giant slimes were spawned on the spot. A pop-up announced, the slimes, once underestimated by players, have won the final victory in their brutal struggle against humanity and have successfully expelled all humans. The next second, the level 80 slimes roared triumphantly. But the creation of slimes wasn't over yet, as they finally had their own queen. The level 100 Lord-level boss, the Slime Queen, was fully formed. Even Yoon Jae-young couldn't help but praise the coolness of the scene. At this moment, the newbie village was no longer human territory, but had completely transformed into the domain of slimes. Simultaneously, all players received a notification: "You have entered a level 80 hunting ground, please proceed with caution." Before the level 1 to 15 players could exit the territory, they were surrounded by level 80 slime soldiers awaiting execution. Yoon Jae-young smirked, "I warned you to stop running your mouths, after all, escaping is more important." After everything settled down, Yoon Jae-young prepared to log off to catch up on sleep, but he heard the humming of slimes behind him. The Slime Queen, leading the charge, embraced her benefactor. Yoon Jae-young felt as if he had collided with a marshmallow, very soft. Then, one slime after another overwhelmed Yoon Jae-young, generously expressing their gratitude. The Slime Queen led all her kin to prostrate before Yoon Jae-young, showing him their utmost respect and gratitude with the most honorable etiquette. A pop-up announced that he had received the title Slime Savior and the reward Slime's Crown. Yoon Jae-young was puzzled. What use was the crown? The next second, the pop-up clarified his confusion. "Congratulations, you have gained 2,413 plausibility points. Additionally, wearing the crown, Yoon Jae-young also received bonuses of +10 water attribute strength, +5 intelligence, and +5 physical resistance." He hid these achievements, but before logging off, he thought, wouldn't he become the public enemy of the entire server if someone saw this? After saying goodbye to the Slime Queen, Yoon Jae-young decided to take the Demon King Satan to the next battle site, and then rack up a significant amount of plausibility points. The next day, the news of Arcadia's beginner town being destroyed made headlines in esports news, instantly provoking a frenzy of complaints from countless players. However, Yoon Jae-young felt his actions were quite justified. "I am merely acting according to the game's guidance. After all, my profession is Bard of Anarchy, which exists to disrupt game balance." As the news of the newbie village being destroyed spread further, some users quickly found an alternative location for the newbie village, a region called Mikhail. The news spread from 1 to 10, and from 10 to 100, causing all new players to converge there for development. Suddenly, the entire game's commercial district was thriving due to their arrival. Initially just a town with an NPC blacksmith, boasted thousands of blacksmith apprentices within a mere week. However, the most horrifying aspect was yet to come. All the blacksmith apprentices were new players who had changed professions, each holding the determination to become a master craftsman. Yet, they set up stalls selling poorly made weapons, relying only on their penchant for false advertising. In such an environment, iron ore, which originally sold for 10 copper coins, was now being traded at 20 copper coins each. Some players wondered why not mine the ore themselves and sell it, only to face mockery from the amateur blacksmiths. Not to mention, the journey from the mine to the city took 2 hours, and the rate of finding iron ore was so low it made one question their life choices. All in all, it was better to let others mine while focusing on repairing equipment, which could improve skills and yield a lot of experience. Going mining oneself was seen as a low-cost benefit activity. Therefore, no players were willing to take on mining tasks. However, Yoon Jae-young smelled a huge business opportunity when he overheard a conversation between blacksmith NPCs by the roadside. The Lord has recently demanded a quota for ore mining, but even if we worked around the clock, we couldn't meet the target. Hearing the word Lord, Yoon Jae-young's mind began spinning rapidly. I didn't realize this town had such economic troubles. Maybe I can make a fortune from this. Every time Yoon Jae-young smirked devilishly, Satan knew he was probably up to something. Yoon Jae-young approached the two blacksmiths with a sly grin. Perhaps I could help you solve this problem. At that moment, in Baroness Mikhail's office, the Baroness sat at his desk deep in thought, unable to comprehend how the price of iron ore had risen to 15 copper coins overnight. If this continued, the town's blacksmiths would lose most of their profits, and there might even be instances of them forging at a loss. Moreover, the market would soon be flooded with low-quality weapons crafted by apprenticed blacksmiths. Perhaps some measures needed to be taken. However, as soon as the blacksmiths heard Yoon Jae-young was willing to take on a mining task, they immediately sent him a quota of 20 iron ores for practice. Without delay, Yoon Jae-young rushed to the Mount Fine mine, accompanied by the demon lord Satan, and entered the deepest, most hidden part of the mine. Satan looked skeptical. Master, are you sure about this? And to think you spent 8,000 plausibility points to have me do such a meaningless task. Urged on by Yoon Jae-young's impatience, a pop-up announced a successful weapon exchange, granting him the equipment Den Destroyer. Its special ability allowed for accelerated mining and significantly increased gathering rates, with a chance to mine rare ores. The moment Yoon Jae-young began, his determination to become wealthy was fully ignited. It's worth mentioning that the Den Destroyer was remarkably powerful and highly efficient, causing a flood of ore notifications to sweep through the entire mine. In less than 3 hours, Yoon Jae-young's mining skill had reached the highest A level, not only boosting his character's stamina by 10 points, but also significantly increasing his mining speed and success rate. Crucially, he could now sense hidden minerals. After mining for 2.5 days, Yoon Jae-young had extracted over 1,000 iron ores, more than 100 silver ores, 33 gold ores, and a few rare minerals. However, possessing these minerals was only the second step in Yoon Jae-young's plan to become rich. The most critical third step involved Mikhail Baroness, who was currently worried about mining rates. If the Lord cannot supply enough iron, the blacksmith workshops might face closure at any moment. Trade guilds from other continents might stop collaborating with us due to the poor quality of weapons. In the eyes of the managers, the root of all problems was the influx of new players becoming blacksmiths. After all, the number of apprentices had increased, but not the number of miners, which was the core issue in the town. Just as Baroness was pondering what to do next, a guard rushed into the conference room exclaiming, "Baroness is also puzzled about why it's so bustling outside." It turned out that at the Baroness mansion entrance, thousands of ores had piled up into a small mountain. Iron, gold, silver, and even rare magic crystal ores. Yoon Jae-young had deliberately sold all these ores to Baroness mansion. After 3 days of mining, he had earned 3 gold coins and 10 silver coins, equivalent to about $500,000. If he mined continuously, he could make about $5 million. Such efficiency was still not enough to satisfy Yoon Jae-young's ambition, especially since his gaming capsule alone was worth $10 million, and it would take at least 2 months of mining to pay it off. To amass wealth quickly, he still needed to prepare some things. The next second, NPC Baroness took the initiative to find Yoon Jae-young. Before either had spoken, Yoon Jae-young had already gained Baroness' favor. Yoon Jae-young smirked, realizing that Baroness had finally taken the bait. "Greetings, esteemed Baroness. What brings you to me today?" Baroness introduced herself. "My name is Mikhail, and I am the lord of this town. Would you like to join me for a tea if you have the time?" A pop-up asked whether to accept Baroness' invitation. It was now time to negotiate with NPC Baroness. Baroness was shocked to hear that Yoon Jae-young had managed to mine thousands of ores in just 3 days. Soon, Baroness briefed Yoon Jae-young on the town's economic problem of iron ore shortage. Yoon Jae-young knew this well, but still listened intently to NPC Baroness' explanation, knowing that it would surely trigger some sort of quest. Sure enough, the pop-up came, which was exactly what Yoon Jae-young was waiting for. Quest: The Lord's Dilemma. Please help the Lord increase the number of miners and improve the mining output. Yoon Jae-young promptly clicked to accept the quest. Then, he confidently patted his chest and sincerely said, "Lord Baroness, I came here specifically to solve the town's or supply issue. However, I need to make some preparations first. If all goes well, we might see some initial results tomorrow." Completing these 4 steps, Yoon Jae-young had made significant progress in his plan to get rich. But what Yoon Jae-young needed to do next was even more crucial. From a realistic perspective, the Lord's dilemma seemed almost impossible to solve. But Arcadia is, after all, a game, and players would definitely not engage in mining as a menial, non-profitable task. The first thing to do was to change the player's percent. Thus, Yoon Jae-young set up a video channel called The Destroyers Daily. Unexpectedly, the account's first video shot to the top of the gaming section's trending list. All because of a simple phrase, "You can actually make money through Arcadia." The video opens with a scene inside the Mount Fine mine, a location unfamiliar to no new player. Next, Yoon Jae-young displayed the earnings from 3 days, which had viewers drooling over the dozen gold coins. Newbies, listen up. Initially, your mining skill is at F level, and in just 1 hour, you could mine 20 iron ores, which is 400 copper coins. Therefore, we need to first improve our mining skills. Not only will this enhance efficiency, but it also gives us a chance to discover rare minerals. Now that I have A-level mining, I consistently find a rare mineral every day. The mention of rare minerals instantly captivated new players. Let's skip the boring mining part. At the end of the day, sell the ores to NPC merchants, and today's income alone is 1 gold coin and 82 silver coins, which is 130,000. Yoon Jae-young's few words instantly ignited a desire within people, even those who were just about to quit the game. Now eagerly logged in as if possessed, the online world was immediately stirred by this. In fact, the mining efficiency showcased in the video was possible because Yoon Jae-young had exchanged cheat equipment from Satan. However, he cleverly edited out these facts, making it appear as if earning money was incredibly easy. That afternoon, all the pickaxes in the entire town were bought out by new players, who uniformly equipped themselves and rushed to the mine. Seeing this, Baroness couldn't help but smile broadly. Players who were once immovable as 9 oxen are now eagerly heading to the mines. "So Dex, what exactly did you do?" Yoon Jae-young replied nonchalantly, "I simply ignited their primal desires." "But Lord Baroness, don't be too happy just yet. There are 3 more steps before they willingly stay in the mines at your disposal. First, lower the miner's base salary to the minimum and give them a certain percentage of the minerals. This will help weed out the lazy ones who are just filling numbers." NPC Baroness had an epiphany. "I never thought of that." Yoon Jae-young's casual probe was a test, and surprisingly, Baroness lacked even basic economic concepts. But Baroness had another concern. Even so, the price of iron ore is still very high, even doubling to 20 copper coins. Yoon Jae-young reassured Baroness, "No need to worry. Even if the prices are high, those who need it will still buy it. In fact, for the master smiths, even at 20 copper coins per iron ore, the profit margins are still very significant. They haven't even raised their prices despite the increase in raw material costs. If anyone still thinks the price is too high, then let them mine it themselves. Isn't it natural for those who are thirsty to dig their own wells?" Baroness felt as if she had achieved enlightenment. There's actually such a tactic in business. If you weren't an adventurer, I would hire you as my financial officer. However, Yoon Jae-young had set all this up just waiting for Baroness to offer him a reward. The next second, Yoon Jae-young placed a pre-written scroll on the table. Baroness looked at the scroll, puzzled. "My lord, this is a project proposal I wrote. Open it and see. I guarantee you'll be satisfied. Know that one person can only bring limited profits. So how can we break through this limit? Quite simply, by leading a group above the individual. If Lord Baroness agrees to give me 10% of the mine's annual revenue, I will transfer the full ownership and management methods of this project to you." Seeing the town's enthusiasm for mining, the Baron had no reason to refuse. Satan was curious. What else is in the project plan? But Yoon Jae-young used a vivid metaphor. It's easy to go up the mountain, but hard to come down. Mining is a thankless task. An ordinary player can dig up at most 10 iron ores in an hour. And the reason I can mine rare minerals is that I have the Den Destroyer equipment. Satan understood immediately. You're setting a trap for the newbies to fall into. But why should they waste their time mining for you? Of course, there's a way to keep them. That is by selling entry tickets to the mine. And the poor have nothing but time left. Those who can't afford the entry tickets can pay with the minerals they mine. The price of a ticket is about 1 gold coin. Satan felt a shiver down his spine upon hearing this. Who would buy such an expensive entry? Not necessarily, because the message I put out is that mining is as easy as picking up money from the ground. So, I'm not worried about them being unwilling to pay a high to enter. Yoon Jae-young immediately revealed a sinister smile. This way, I can just sit back and reap the benefits. The demon lord Satan only felt that Yoon Jae-young before him was truly a devil in his own right, extorting others without any sense of guilt. After some thought, he still felt that this guy was truly fit to be his master. After seeing Yoon Jae-young's video, a new player immediately rushed to the mine, only to be stopped by a guard. Don't you know you need a ticket to mine here? The young man was confused. This wasn't mentioned in the video. Has there been a change in the mine situation? The NPC guard then morally blackmailed him. Have you adventurers made any contribution to the development of this mine? No work, no food. Isn't it right to pay a usage fee? That makes some sense. How much is the entry ticket? Not expensive. Only 30 gold coins a month. 30 gold coins, which amounted to a daily usage fee of 50,000, terrified the boy. He couldn't afford it. Was his dream of becoming rich overnight about to burst like a bubble? The guard immediately saw through the boy's thoughts. He smiled slyly and comforted. Don't be discouraged, young man. From your equipment, I can tell you're not wealthy. But our Lord has introduced a system for people like you. It's called Use Now, Pay Later. You can ask about the details at the consultation center. The NPC at the consultation center was stunningly beautiful. Immediately lowering the boy's guard, watching the young man walk towards the consultation center, the NPC guard looked like he saw a future where the boy would never return. Meanwhile, the sound of pickaxes striking rock continuously echoed in the mine, as everyone prayed to unearth a rare mineral so they could quickly pay off their entry fees. The NPC customer service showed a strange smile. It's surprising that these players are willing to become slaves. This easy to go up the mountain, hard to come down scheme surely couldn't have been thought of by the Lord himself. Whoever came up with this plan is truly a walking demon. At that moment, Yoon Jae-young's interface popped up. Daily mining goal of 10,000 iron ores achieved. Quest the Lord's Dilemma completed. Please find the Lord to receive your reward. Yoon Jae-young was also puzzled. How did it happen faster than I expected? But right now, Yoon Jae-young had no time to collect his reward, as Satan had brought him to a deeper part of Mount Fian. It turned out Satan had accidentally found an ancient relic under Mount Bian. Although the place looked long abandoned, the relic's door was surprisingly clean and bright. Could there be magic on the door? So, what secrets lay behind it? Even the demon lord Satan was eagerly curious. As Yoon Jae-young touched the door, the seal magic on it was activated. A pop-up suggested, you can spend 15,000 plausibility points to break the seal. Faced with the unknown, Yoon Jae-young did not hesitate. If not now, when else to use the credibility points? After using the points, congratulations on discovering an unknown celestial altar. Satan smiled broadly. It indeed relates to an angelic relic. Just as Yoon Jae-young opened the relic, the game officials were in an uproar. The smart brain issued a warning. A user has prematurely entered the Mount Fian relic, contaminating 693 related tasks. It turned out that Mount Fian was the location where the first angel descended into Arcadia, once known as the majestic gateway to the heavens. To protect the relic, or veins were generated around it to divert attention. But now that players had prematurely opened the entrance to the relic, the ultimate consequence would be the contamination of the mythical quest, the Second Holy Demonic War. The Holy Demonic War was a fierce battle of life and death between angels and demons on the stage of Arcadia. Countless lives were sacrificed, and the entire continent suffered immensely. Had it not been for the World Tree's intervention, no creature in Arcadia would have survived the First Holy Demonic War. Meanwhile, Yoon Jae-young entered the relic ready to hunt for treasure. Let's go. Master, let's empty all the treasures inside. So, Satan, are you saying the treasure is inside this coffin? Because there is almost nothing in the relic. Only the coffin at the altar looks suspicious. So, little Satan, how shall we open it? After trying to lift it for about 10 minutes, the coffin remained immovable. There's no restriction on it, just that the lid is too heavy. Yoon Jae-young, just a new player, simply didn't have enough strength. The demon lord then said the coffin lid was also a rare mineral. So, the greedy Yoon Jae-young immediately put on safety goggles and then took out the den destroyer, naturally intending to apply his mining technique to opening the coffin lid. As the drill clashed with the coffin lid, creating a loud burst, the lid shattered with a bang. A pop-up then announced, "You have destroyed an ancient artifact unknown to many." The celestial beings are shocked by the player's actions. Your favorability with the celestial realm has dropped to the lowest, title gained, desecrator of artifacts. However, when Yoon Jae-young saw what was inside the coffin, he looked disdainful. Other than a tattered piece of clothing, there's just a necklace around the skeleton's neck. It hardly looks like any great treasure. Satan pointed at the skeleton and said, "Master, you are unaware. The necklace around its neck is the most precious item in the entire mine." Just as Yoon Jae-young picked up the necklace, a game pop-up announced, "Congratulations, you have picked up the glorious celestial metal. A holy aura will purify the impurities within you." As the holy light desperately surged into Yoon Jae-young's body, the holy apparition from the celestial metal became more solid. Until the apparition's facial features were clear, a wave of holy energy, stronger than before, swept around. The demon lord Satan felt as if he was being torn apart by the holy light. Yoon Jae-young felt as warm as if he were basking in sunlight. Just as the apparition was about to grant Yoon Jae-young the hidden profession, the Great Prophet, a flame ignited in Yoon Jae-young's chest, seemingly declaring his sovereignty. At that moment, the game issued a warning. You are not a Holy Series player. A fatal system error has occurred. Equipment will be temporarily disabled. Arcadia Virtual Reality Company will prioritize fixing the bug and taking measures. Yoon Jae-young broke out in a cold sweat. It seems my original hidden profession is repelling it. Anyway, the game company will resolve it for me. But that's it for now. What we're doing now would be called grave robbing in reality. If traces are found, I won't be able to continue in the game world. So, little Satan, remember, always clean up your tracks. Watching Yoon Jae-young take out the den destroyer, Satan got goosebumps. Are you planning to destroy everything here? Yoon Jae-young revealed a benign smile, then went on a drilling frenzy. This should solve the problem. Just block the entrance, and it'll be perfect. Satan was dumbfounded. No wonder you are my master. Later, Yoon Jae-young arrived at Baroness Chil's mansion, ready to collect his reward from Baroness. Yoon Jae-young's arrival thrilled Baroness, as she wouldn't have to worry about a shortage of miners for the next year. She had contracts with 10,000 miners, and she would take 30% of their mining profits. How did you ever think of this method? Actually, Yoon Jae-young just got his inspiration from news about unscrupulous corporations. Compared to his initial encounter with NPC Baroness, she now seems to be stepping into the abyss of exploiting workers. After receiving 244 gold coins as a reward from Baroness, Yoon Jae-young was able to pay off his gaming capsule early. The next second, Baroness sincerely invited him. "Vex, are you really not interested in starting a business with me?" A pop-up appeared. Child Baroness's proposal. If you agree to a partnership, you can enjoy the same rights as Baroness. Looking at such an attractive offer, to be honest, Yoon Jae-young was somewhat tempted. However, Yoon Jae-young declined, saying he was planning to travel across the continent. The next second, NPC Baroness handed out a letter of recommendation. With this, you can at least get some personal protection within the Maroon Kingdom. And this letter is also part of the quest reward. But Yoon Jae-young felt puzzled. You mentioned personal safety. Is there a conflict going on within the kingdom? Baroness spoke frankly. Actually, the royal atmosphere has been quite unusual lately. The king is old, but the prince who is to succeed the throne is really too young. Therefore, the radicals within the kingdom have started causing trouble in order to control power. The worst of them is Duke Burin. This guy has become the leader of the radicals, trying to make the new king his puppet. What's more disgusting is that he's proposing to start a war with a neighboring country at this critical moment, without considering the future of the country at all. If you take my recommendation letter to Count Broken, he will definitely make good use of you. Just when Yoon Jae-young decided to avoid this kind of plot, it was already too late. A pop-up indicated that a mandatory quest had been updated. Yoon Jae-young saw that the mandatory quest could not be refused, and he was devastated. He wished he hadn't asked more questions. Finally, Yoon Jae-young bid farewell to Mchile Baroness. And all along the way, he pondered over the quest he had just triggered. Even Satan, the demon, knew that human political struggles were particularly troublesome. But Yoon Jae-young wanted to give it a try. After all, stirring things up is what could earn him more plausibility points. At that moment, a pop-up appeared. The glorious celestial metal's capabilities have been fully adjusted. Congratulations, this metal has become your medium to connect with the celestial realm. You will permanently summon the holy might of the celestial glory. Archangel Michael will descend to earth. It is known that angels and demons have been adversaries since ancient times. Yet now, two leader-level beings have formed a permanent covenant with Yoon Jae-young. No sooner had the divine pet met the demonic pet than they wanted to fight a battle to the death. Come on, let's fight. Just like the great holy demonic war 1,000 years ago, first wreak havoc on all living beings, then bring about the end of the world. Caught in the middle, Yoon Jae-young had to play the role of the angel's messenger and the demon's confidant. These two, being leaders of their respective factions, bickered like neighborhood children. It turns out that in the great holy demonic war 1,000 years ago, Michael and Satan fought a decisive battle on Mount Fion. The angel had pierced Satan's abdomen. It was then that Satan noticed the Holy Spirit in the angel's hand, despicable winged bastard, bringing a sacred weapon named Muspelheim. And Yoon Jae-young had read this story in the library. At that moment, Michael flew to Yoon Jae-young's side. I can sense the power you possess. But if plausibility falls into the hands of the despicable bat, it could be very dangerous. Therefore, to prevent you from being swayed by the devil's sugar-coated bullets, let me, Michael, become your guardian angel and lead you on the path of light. However, Satan laughed. Ha, foolish wings. I can guarantee as the leader of the demons, the human before you is more evil than any demon. In fact, Yoon Jae-young had to admit. After all, his profession, Bard of Anarchy, is strengthened by disrupting the world. Thus, everything I do in the game unintentionally aligns with the evil faction. After all, only by doing so can I acquire the plausibility to change all the rules. Angel Michael didn't see it that way. Human nature is fundamentally good. The mission of angels is to awaken the latent goodness in their hearts. Seeing Michael so proactive, Satan immediately realized this guy had ulterior motives. So, Michael, I'm letting you stay for my master's sake. But don't even think about sharing his plausibility points. Michael genuinely laughed. With me here, don't think you can monopolize the master's plausibility points. Listening to their noisy quarrel, Yoon Jae-young called out to Michael. Little Michael, you know that whether it's angels or demons, this world always operates on capitalism, since we're talking about credibility. So I ask, what can you offer me if I give you credibility points? Reciprocity is also a common principle in the celestial realm. There are indeed several weapons in the celestial realm that can aid humans. But Yoon Jae-young's current shortcoming is his character's combat ability. So, little Michael, can you provide me with combat capabilities? Although the Bard of Anarchy can master the plausibility to change rules, it lacks any means of attack. There isn't even a leveling system for the character. Yoon Jae-young's skills in mining and diving are of no help in combat. Although equipment can be exchanged through Satan, it doesn't compensate for my lack of combat prowess. At that moment, Michael thought of the best way to enhance power. A pop-up appeared. Divine Descent skill has been generated. You can use plausibility to temporarily borrow the power of the heavens. This power has no limit, but is closely related to the plausibility points provided by the master. After learning how to use it, Yoon Jae-young couldn't wait to activate the Divine Descent skill to test its power. The next instant, holy energy shot up into the sky, and even the demon lord Satan was pushed back by the sacred aura. The entire forest was illuminated by holy light, and the wild beasts deep in the woods immediately sensed the presence of an enemy. "Brothers, follow me and attack." Michael explained, "Master, this Divine Descent skill allows you to borrow the strength of ancient heroes who once fought bravely for the celestial realm. For example, the noble knight Farhan, the great wizard of truth Merlin, the divine archer Parcel, and the great thief Murfin." Doesn't this mean that Yoon Jae-young now possesses the abilities of 5 different professions? Just then, several half-orcs came walking through the forest. Yoon Jae-young's left eye blazed with holy light. It would be a waste not to use the opportunity that had presented itself. Divine Descent activated. Yoon Jae-young chose the hero soul of the noble knight Farhan. He also had a title, the Demon Crusher. Because the demon blood on the tip of his sword had never dried, countless lives had been saved behind his shield. Demons had only one fate against him, to be torched and purified amidst terror by a great sword carrying holy light. The moment Divine Descent was activated, the sword and shield of Farhan appeared in Yoon Jae-young's hands. Satan's eyes widened, for not a single demon dared not recognize the weapons in Yoon Jae-young's hands. Divine Descent, as the name implies, imbues the wielder with the power of a deity. From Satan's reaction, it was clear that Farhan was considered a demon among demons in the eyes of the underworld. "I've been waiting for you, my whetstones." The half-orcs hesitated at the sight of this power. What kind of power was this? Had these creatures gained intelligence? Why didn't they attack despite the provocation? Could it be that this forest's boss-level monster, a level 25 half-orc, was among them? So, when the half-orc leader swung his sword the next second, Yoon Jae-young merely unfolded the divine shield in his hand. It directly melted the orc's great sword. A pop-up appeared. Activation of the will that never retreats. This supreme power feels really good. Big guy, it's my turn now. With the conviction of justice and the sparks of dawn that illuminate heaven, I dispel all darkness in the world. Now, Yoon Jae-young could be said to be Parzival himself. The half-orcs were terrified by the holy light. Yoon Jae-young, intoxicated with power, couldn't help himself. "I'll be taking your heads now." The giant sword swung down, dazzling like a falling star, and the half-orcs turned into dust. A pop-up announced that the Divine Descent skill had been deactivated. It began to calculate the duration and the player's expenditure. You have used 352 plausibility points. At that moment, the night was clear and the moon bright. Yoon Jae-young shed the holy light possessing him and returned to his original form. Facing a level 25 monster, it was a complete overpowering. However, Michael was stunned by the scene. Even though it was Divine Descent, the power was unbelievably strong. Could a human body really withstand such force? Suddenly, Michael realized something. So that's it. His lips curled slightly. "Creator, I finally understand why you sent me here. This human is the one who can change the course of the world. I, Michael, will keep a close watch on his every move." Meanwhile, Yoon Jae-young looked troubled. To him, the only downside of Divine Descent was its cost. Because just now, a mere 5 minutes of Divine Descent had consumed over 300 plausibility points. If he faced a tough enemy, the consumption of plausibility points could be like a bottomless abyss. Yoon Jae-young then turned his head and looked at the once constantly bickering divine and demonic pets. These two guys could actually sleep peacefully together. But I should sleep too, especially since I have to go to the Maroon Kingdom tomorrow to carry out that damned mission. Recently, the political situation in the Maroon Kingdom has been tumultuous. The king is too old and the prince is too young. The nobility within the kingdom are causing trouble to seize power. The worst among them is Duke Buren. He leads these radicals. In order to destabilize the king faster, he has proposed going to war with neighboring countries at this critical moment. It's all just to embezzle supplies and military pay. After all, as a duke, he can mobilize the entire military force of the Maroon Kingdom. Due to its geographical advantage, the Maroon Kingdom has become a hub for international trade. Here, several large trading companies operate, and the profits are quite substantial. I'm asking, I bring so much to trade, and none of your company heads come to receive me? Does the GM trading company look down on NPCs? Respected NPC merchant, are you satisfied to be received by me, the assistant manager? Sorry, our company head is currently meeting with the Duke, and inside the house, the Duke was none other than Duke Buren. Mr. Choi, I believe you may have guessed by now, the Maroon Kingdom is going to war with the Parkle Kingdom soon. As the head of the GM trading group, you should understand the stakes involved. Choi Jeju was well aware that this NPC Duke, who was ready to ascend to the throne, could bring him billions in profits as the perfect partner. It turns out that Choi Jeju was the youngest son of the chairman of the GM group. However, he could not handle the hardships of grassroots positions. Every position he took ended poorly, and he was often severely reprimanded by his father. The GM Trading Guild in the game was founded by this son, who loved to play games, initially established purely for financial gain. Now, the chance to earn his father's approval lay before Choi Jeju. So, Duke, we will be buying large quantities of grain next. You'll need to help me negotiate a good price with the king. No problem. I will also ensure our Maroon Kingdom's officers give their maximum cooperation to the GM Guild. The reason I came to seek help from a player-formed guild is simple. Just make sure not to draw NPC attention. At this moment, Choi Jeju's heart was racing. Choi Jeju's opportunity to rise in his father's eyes would arrive. He needed to gather funds quickly, as a duke who wanted to drain the national treasury and become king was a rare opportunity. If this deal goes through, the entire server economy of Arcadia could firmly end up in the hands of our GM group. Just wait, father. I will use this game to prove my business acumen. However, Yoon Jae-young had only just met Count Bracken. Count Bracken, with a look of disdain, said, "Did Baroness Mikhail send you to find me, and you brought her letter of recommendation as well?" Dex replied, "Yes. She said that coming to you would ensure personal protection." There was a ripping sound, and the letter was torn in half before being opened. Yoon Jae-young could hardly believe it. Count Bracken, enjoying Yoon Jae-young's anger, asked, "What does Baroness Mikhail want you to do by finding me?" Yoon Jae-young responded with a smirk. "Are you asking me directly for the reason? Shouldn't someone in a high position be the one to think about the reasons? I'm just an adventurer. I wouldn't know." The friction between their words sparked a dazzling display. Count Bracken burst into a deafening laughter. "I like your style, kid. No need to say it. I already know she sent you here because she thinks you're talented enough to prevent a war between the two countries." Yoon Jae-young sarcastically said, "I don't think I'm capable of that." Count Bracken, reading between the lines, said, "Hearing about a war doesn't surprise you. It seems Baroness Mikhail trusts you a lot. She must have told you what's going on already. So, Dex, have you figured out how you want to stop the fight between the two countries?" After some thought, Yoon Jae-young offered two options, a simple method and a difficult method. Count Bracken decided to hear the simple one first. Yoon Jae-young chuckled, "Isn't it always said that Duke Buren is the main culprit? Why not capture the king to capture the criminals? Isn't that the simplest way?" Count Bracken almost burst out laughing. "You mean, kill Duke Buren?" Yoon Jae-young nodded. Count Bracken laughed heartily. That's as good as saying nothing at all. You should know that his personal guards are all knights and mages of master rank or higher. If someone could assassinate him, I'd let them take over my title as count. Yoon Jae-young volunteered himself, pointing to himself, I can definitely do it. Count Bracken was not looking down on Yoon Jae-young. I think with your level 1 abilities, you might not even be able to touch the Duke's robe. However, Yoon Jae-young confidently smiled and said, please do not judge by appearances, uncle. Such confidence, youth is indeed an advantage. Count Bracken invited Yoon Jae-young to come with him. Since you are so confident, how about a sparring session with me? I trust Baroness Mikhail's judgment about you. So young man, please do not disappoint me. The desire to fight was blossoming in every cell of Count Bracken. Count Bracken muttered to himself, I am a sword master, but even with my strength, I'm not sure I could carry out the assassination. Yoon Jae-young's response was just 2 words, divine descent. The wandering knight, Cephalo's divine descent, was successful. In an instant, the murderous intent emanating from Yoon Jae-young made Count Bracken shudder. Count Bracken was amazed at Yoon Jae-young's spirit. How is this possible? He was clearly just a kid who had never handled a sword before, and now his burst of spirit is like someone who has practiced swordsmanship their whole life. Yoon Jae-young's eyes were determined as he declared that he would end the fight in 5 minutes. Count Bracken felt a flutter of panic. A pop-up notification appeared, you've activated swift steps, you've activated the will of a decisive battle, you've activated the wind's word. The spirit of earth is protecting you. The sword blade, which seemed very light, felt as heavy as a small mountain when it struck Count Bracken's sword. Yoon Jae-young thought he could decide the fight with one move, but Count Bracken barely managed to block it. Just as Yoon Jae-young was preparing to dispel the divine descent skill, Count Bracken became more interested. You really are no ordinary adventurer, kid. Yoon Jae-young cracked a smile, good to know you understand. Let's end the sparring here. In fact, Yoon Jae-young was concerned about his own plausibility. However, Count Bracken, finding a worthy opponent, was reluctant to stop. Kid, even if you're strong, you should let me show off my own skills. In the blink of an eye, a red battle aura blade appeared on Count Bracken's sword, crackling with energy. Count Bracken, full of confidence, declared, although I haven't been a swordmaster for long, I have undeniable pride in myself. The battle aura blade condensed on my sword is the source of my pride. Yoon Jae-young sighed, it seems I have no choice but to bring him down. Count Bracken, determined to go all out, challenged. Kid, take my strongest sword strike. I also want to know how strong your true sword intent is. A sword energy, like a wild beast, charged furiously towards Yoon Jae-young. Yoon Jae-young believed that true strength lies not in sharpness, but in the resolve like Count Bracken's, to risk everything. However, just as the sword was about to hit Yoon Jae-young, a battle aura blade, 100 times more terrifying than Count Bracken's, appeared out of nowhere. To Count Bracken's surprise, the state of the form sword is something only a level 150 swordmaster could master. Seeing the notification pop up, Yoon Jae-young's heart broke. Using high-level skills beyond his level required an additional payment of plausibility. Yoon Jae-young, who values money as much as life, decided to end the fight quickly. Now possessing Cephalo's sword skills, he began to employ sword techniques he had used in 3D games. Although it appeared that Yoon Jae-young only swung his sword once, in reality, it was a combination of 100 swords. 100 sword energies overlaid at the same time. The unleashed power was unimaginable. Count Bracken felt as if his body was about to shatter under the sword's force, until Yoon Jae-young spotted a slight flaw. With the final sweep of a green sword light, Count Bracken felt the presence of death. If it weren't for Yoon Jae-young timely restraining his power, Count Bracken would have certainly paid with his life. He was very grateful to have not died. A pop-up notification appeared. Divine Descent has ended. You have consumed a total of 2,812 plausibility points. You have gained the title Miracle Duel Fighter, with a 10-point increase in strength. Yoon Jae-young was furious. This is extortion. Absolute extortion. Michael popped in to explain. I think the power borrowed by the master far exceeds this price. But coming back to it, you managed to use this power so perfectly. Have you practiced swordsmanship before? Yoon Jae-young did not lie. Back when I played 3D games, I was the top knight on the server. Meanwhile, Count Bracken was still recovering from the shock. As a swordmaster, not being able to predict the sword trajectory of this level 1 newcomer might suggest that the young man had already surpassed the level of a swordmaster. Count Bracken knelt before Yoon Jae-young. May I ask, what is your pursuit in swordsmanship? After some thought, Yoon Jae-young answered, probably, the wind, sharper and freer than anyone else. At that moment, Count Bracken felt a flash of insight. Seizing this feeling, he swung his sword. His aura became more subdued, and his sword movements felt much more relaxed than before. A casual remark from Yoon Jae-young inadvertently started the NPC's practice. Afterward, Count Bracken bowed 90 degrees to Yoon Jae-young as an apology. I was speaking arrogantly before. Please forgive this old relic. Yoon Jae-young was nonchalant. After all, who would expect a level 1 newbie to go assassinate a duke? Everyone would react the same way. Count Bracken, puzzled, asked, so, Mr. Dex, are you really going to assassinate Duke Burin? With your strength, I believe it would be easy, but his death would certainly cause royal turmoil. Yoon Jae-young gave an example. Have you ever heard of the Gordian knot? Do you know what the simplest way to untangle such a complex knot is? Count Bracken, only half understanding, couldn't answer. Yoon Jae-young said with a sneer. The simplest way is to cut it with a single stroke. As for what happens afterwards, there's always a way, right? Yoon Jae-young's words led Count Bracken to another realization. Although this approach might seem irresponsible, given the tangled internal and external issues of the Maroon Kingdom, perhaps this is indeed the most direct solution. At that moment, Count Bracken understood the terrifying aspect of the young man before him. A top swordsman, he possessed such profound inner wisdom, and his emergence would surely shake the entire continent. A pop-up notification appeared. Submission Assassinate Duke Burin has been updated. Yoon Jae-young was embarrassed. This game system is really sensitive. At that moment, Satan appeared with a wicked grin. Master, where are you going to take care of this guy? Michael quickly intervened in opposition. Assassination is absolutely not acceptable. It should be a fair duel. Announced 3 days in advance with a duel notice. That's the proper way. After hearing this, Yoon Jae-young was stunned. Actually, I don't want to go and kill Duke Burin right now. Satan and Michael, you must understand something. Duke Burin wouldn't start a war with a neighboring country without a reason. From my perspective, what do I care about the life or death of the Maroon Kingdom? What concerns me is, who can I cooperate with to maximize my benefits? Wars have always been a part of kingdoms. It's just a matter of which country provokes it first. In other words, it doesn't matter who starts the war. However, one thing is certain. During the most chaotic times of an intensified war, I can play multiple roles and gain more plausibility. Satan, puzzled, asked, why not just ally directly with that bastard Duke Burin? Yoon Jae-young grinned. Satan, you are still on the ground floor while I'm in the stratosphere. Your understanding of war is a conflict between two kingdoms. While I see another type of war, the friction between internal powers within a kingdom. If I can successfully instigate 2 wars at the same time, the plausibility benefits I reap will be doubled. Satan felt a chill. You really are a madman, Master. You should be the Devil King. Yet, Satan took out a notebook and recorded all the strategies Yoon Jae-young had just mentioned. Satan sighed. This guy really looks at the world solely for his own benefit. Bathed in sunlight, he is the most terrifying Devil King this world has ever seen. Because a piece of news this morning had deeply affected him, Agen Electronics had just broken through a stock price of $5,000. Meaning someone had invested at least $1 trillion in Arcadia. Choi Jae-ju, the richest merchant guild leader in all of Arcadia, had personally come to the Duke's mansion to deliver a strategic report. Choi Jae-ju, full of confidence, said, "Lord Duke, my GM merchantry has taken control of the NPC peasants who supplied the enemy with provisions last year, and we've locked in all their future grain production through futures contracts. So, Lord Duke, could you guarantee that when we go to war with our neighbors, GM merchantry will handle all the army's provisions? This would help you quickly empty the treasury and easily seize power." Duke Buren pointed at the ceiling. "Don't you think it would be better to discuss this after I ascend the throne?" Just as Choi Jae-ju was about to speak, the Duke's gaze turned sharp. "Adventurer, are you doubting me? Negotiations are most feared when one doesn't hold any leverage." Having swallowed a bitter pill, Choi Jae-ju could only vent his frustration on the wall. To ensure a pleasant cooperation, he had to keep silent, because in these 3 days he spent 10 million gold coins to pre-purchase all the grain on the market. If converted into real money, that's $1 trillion US dollars. If the plan fails, not only would the real-world corporation go bankrupt, but my father would surely flay and gut me. If a real war breaks out between the two kingdoms, and the price of grain overnight increases tenfold, turning 1 trillion into 10 trillion isn't impossible. But just then, as Yoon Jae-young passed by Choi Jae-ju, it made Choi Jae-ju's heart skip a beat. Choi Jae-ju wanted to follow him, but was a step too late. "I'm sure of it. This guy covered his newbie clothes with a cloak. He's definitely not an NPC, but a player like me. But how could he enter Duke Buren's mansion? Is he planning to interfere?" Choi Jae-ju snapped his fingers, summoning 2 men in black robes. "Keep an eye on this guy, and bring him to me as soon as he comes out." The main reason Yoon Jae-young could meet Duke Buren was because of the recommendation letter from Count Bracken. As soon as Yoon Jae-young spoke, he said, "Count Bracken plans to assassinate you." Duke Buren immediately looked exasperated. "Adventurer, do you think I would take your word for it?" Yoon Jae-young smiled and said, "I think. Duke, you already have a picture in your mind, and you don't really need me to prove it." Satan and Michael suddenly became anxious. Why would you lie about this? Satan had a moment of realization. Could it be that he did this on purpose? Yoon Jae-young said, "Satan, you've already grasped it." Duke Buren knowingly asked, "So adventurer, why would you tell me this information?" Yoon Jae-young immediately made his stance clear. "I believe a wise and mature ruler is 100 times better than a wet behind the ears kid. The kingdom will only be more ideal under Duke's rule." Duke Buren couldn't stop smiling. "Adventurer, what's your name?" Yoon Jae-young immediately gave his game ID as Dex. Finally, the two shook hands amicably, and Duke Buren said, "Dex, is it? It seems we will get along very well in the future." "Well done." Yoon Jae-young successfully chose a side. At this point, Yoon Jae-young could be certain of Duke's eager ambition for power. It also indicated that Duke's determination to go to war with the neighboring country was real. Next, Yoon Jae-young needed to determine the source of the news report about a stock reaching 5,000. It wasn't until 2 men in black robes appeared that Yoon Jae-young clearly understood the identity of the trillion-dollar investor. Yes, it was the yellow-haired person he had just encountered at Duke's mansion. If he wasn't mistaken, this guy was the leader of GM Merchantry. Thus, with the appearance of the men in black robes, there was not a hint of fear on Yoon Jae-young's face. Yoon Jae-young taunted, "I say, what took you so?" Choi Jae-ju looked at Yoon Jae-young and said, "Kid, welcome to GM. Let's sit down and talk." Choi Jae-ju asked fiercely, "What exactly did you talk about with Duke?" Yoon Jae-young tentatively said, "I don't see any reason why I should tell you." Seeing Choi Jae-ju so agitated, it was clear that he had significant interests with NPC Duke. Confirming this, Yoon Jae-young looked around and counted 7 black-robed guards. Yoon Jae-young thought, if I want to leave safely, I might have to use the divine descent. However, the vice leader of the Merchant Guild suddenly bowed to Yoon Jae-young. "Actually, we just wanted to ask if you had received any missions from Duke Buren." Yoon Jae-young replied coolly, "Is that so?" That young master's attitude didn't seem like he was just asking. Seeing Yoon Jae-young's stubborn denial, Choi Jae-ju slammed the table in fury. "What exactly is your relationship with Duke? If you dare to interfere with our affairs, not just in this game, but in real life, your life will be filled with torment. The next second, the vice leader grabbed Choi Jae-ju by the collar. Calm down, young master. You're crossing the line. Then the vice leader bowed to Yoon Jae-young. My friend, our guild leader has invested so much in Duke Buren that we are very sensitive. Seeing such a crafty character, Yoon Jae-young couldn't help but marvel at the old man's cunning. After calming down, Choi Jae-ju tossed a sack of gold coins to Yoon Jae-young. So, mysterious adventurer, sir, is this enough to persuade you? Hearing his identity was still unknown, Yoon Jae-young secretly rejoiced. Yoon Jae-young stated, in that case, all I need to do is give up the mission Duke gave me. Choi Jae-ju, seeing someone so easily swayed by money for the first time, thought, I should have known not to waste my breath on him. Over the course of the day, Yoon Jae-young confirmed 2 pieces of information. 1. Duke Buren aims to usurp power and control an entire kingdom. 2. He is linked with GM Group in the real world. The morning news was the result of GM Group's investment in the game. It was surprising that they were so committed, investing an amount nearly equal to their corporate valuation. Such tangled relationships must involve huge consequences. However, by simply killing Duke Buren, Yoon Jae-young could turn the situation upside down and gain a massive amount of plausibility. Just as Yoon Jae-young decided to assassinate Duke under cover of night, the Angel of Justice, Michael, was unwilling to lend a divine descent skill to Yoon Jae-young. Without divine descent, what could Yoon Jae-young use to assassinate the Duke? Any guard by his side could easily kill me. But Satan sensed the scent of plausibility. Master, don't bother with that winged one. Is it just power you need? I can lend you the power of the demon world. Yoon Jae-young was visibly shocked. Satan, could it be that you also? Satan revealed a sinister grin. I can perform divine descent too. With that, Satan eagerly generated a contract. In the next instant, a magic circle filled with demonic energy unfolded. Yoon Jae-young was curious to see what ancient demons Satan's divine descent could summon. A pop-up notification appeared. Your contract with the demon world is established. You can temporarily borrow the power of the demon world by consuming plausibility. Yoon Jae-young smirked devilishly. Satan, why didn't you tell me earlier that you could also perform divine descent? That would make my plans much more feasible. The next second, a pop-up window appeared for Yoon Jae-young to select a character for divine descent. It turned out that among the demons, there was not only a but also a dark mage. Yoon Jae-young was delighted. Lich Argammer. This guy is the pinnacle of necromancers. Legend has it that with just one spell, he destroyed an entire empire with a population of 10 million. With enough corpses, he essentially has an endlessly regenerating undead army. Destroying a country with a mere gesture wouldn't seem far-fetched, especially with a necromantic god like Lich Argammer. However, what Yoon Jae-young was really looking forward to was the substantial gain rewards he could get from assassinating the Duke. Thus, the 2 guardian knights at Duke's mansion became the first subjects of his experiment with necromancy. Divine descent initiated. Lich Argammer fully empowered. Yoon Jae-young immediately checked his necromantic skills. And indeed, they were just as described in the novels. The Duke's guards had never felt such an ominous presence before. This kind of pressure could definitely make it into the history books of the kingdom. The next instant, an evil torrent materialized, summoning specters to claim lives. The knight did not hold back and immediately activated the highly consuming Holy Shield. Yoon Jae-young quietly admired, worthy of being the first Duke's guard and a paladin NPC at that. The underlying fear drove the guardian knight to exert his full strength, and his holy sword instantly completed the stacking of the Judgment Blade skill. A hint of disdain curled at the corner of Yoon Jae-young's mouth. The skill Ghost Spear was activated, and a creature from the abyss of hell suddenly appeared out of thin air. With a mere point of its finger, it could obliterate all light. The spear-pierced knight was horrified, for he felt the presence of a necromancer in the spear. Seeing this, the other knight fled in terror. A lich? It's a lich. We must inform the whole country immediately. The next second, the ghost spear also devoured his heart. Yoon Jae-young muttered to himself, after all, I can't reveal myself yet. And the power of a necromancer lies in the number of undead under their control. Now that I have the materials, it's time to have the two knights who just died stand up again. The skill Lost Fantasy stabilizes the soul energy within a corpse and then transforms it into an undead soldier retaining its battle prowess from life. The level of the soldier is determined by the undead's strength and life. Unexpectedly, this knight reached the level of an intermediate undead death knight. As a necromancer, as long as there are enough corpses in mana, it equates to having the ability to manipulate an infinite number of undead. The existence of a necromancer is like having a huge army. Therefore, the necromancer class is particularly suited for siege warfare, just like now. Along the way, Yoon Jae-young assassinated dozens of soldiers in the Duke's mansion, and the number of undead continued to grow. When faced with an undead army, everyone's first reaction was to call for a squad of paladins. But upon recognizing the traits of the undead knights, they lost all hope. Aren't these guys the mansion's noble paladins? Soon, the few remaining guards in the mansion naturally became Yoon Jae-young's undead. Yoon Jae-young sneered. Go, find out where Duke Buren is hiding from me. Duke, you better hide well if you want to survive. At this moment, the entire Duke's mansion was like hell, emanating a deadly stillness, except for the sleepy Duke Buren. It was too late when his subordinates came to report, as the mansion was already infested with liches. My lord, we can only wait to die now. The imminent death turned Duke's face pale. In the next second, the evil aura of the undead seeped into Duke's bedroom. Yoon Jae-young finally found the mastermind behind it all. Killing him, the sender of this situation, might really earn me a lot of plausibility. In the blink of an eye, 3 undead soldiers burst into Duke's room, seeing their once familiar comrades, all turned into undead ready to revolt. And wasn't the largest among these undead knights his own trusted holy sword, Ledner? Then, a figure in a black robe appeared from behind the undead. Duke Buren, we meet again. How could Duke Buren forget Yoon Jae-young, who just a few days ago was earnestly flattering him, and now came with the undead to claim his life? Duke Buren pleaded. Adventurer, I can give you anything you want. But Yoon Jae-young's lips curled into a sinister smile. What if I want your life? That's why I came here. You should be careful who you employ, Duke, whether it's war or the throne. Even if you're profiting from a national disaster, it's still okay. I don't care, but you shouldn't have employed someone who would displease me. Be more careful in your next life, though I'm not sure if NPCs have one. Amidst NPC Duke's cries for help, Yoon Jae-young commanded, then let the subordinates you once controlled send you to your death. The past flashed before Duke like a rapid slideshow. All efforts gone to waste, like the snuffing of a lamp. Life extinguished. A pop-up notification appeared. Duke Buren has died. As a result, the secret plan has deviated greatly, and 321 related quests in Arcadia have been removed. You have earned the title Noble Murderer. Congratulations on completing the submission, earning you 53,000 points of plausibility. Looking at the full screen of pop-ups, Yoon Jae-young suddenly realized, the bigger the chaos I create, the more plausibility I earn at settlement. The influx of plausibility made Satan and Michael's eyes sparkle. Yoon Jae-young asked, by the way, Satan, there's no time limit on Lich Argamer's divine descent, right? Satan answered, yes, master, as long as you pay enough plausibility. Yoon Jae-young immediately flashed a wicked smile, Satan, there are many more places I haven't destroyed yet. Afterward, Yoon Jae-young, with the 50,000 plausibility reward from killing the Duke and leading an army of undead, began a campaign of destruction across the domain. After several hours of devastation, Duke Buren's domain saw its production capacity reduced by 85% and its military capability by 98%, with all NPC residents fleeing. At that moment, the flag representing the Duke's kingdom was burned to ashes by Yoon Jae-young. Thus, Duke Buren's domain was completely destroyed. A pop-up notification appeared. You have earned the title Vicious Necromancer. Duke Buren's secret plan has thus been thwarted. Congratulations on earning 14,000 points of plausibility. looking over the domain now covered by an undead army. Yoon Jae-young regretted not choosing necromancer as his profession. With enough mana, animating hundreds or thousands of undead soldiers would be effortless, but seeing corpses every day is also a torment. After this battle, Yoon Jae-young earned 60,000 plausibility, but he wasn't sure how much he would need to pay for this divine descent. After all, it was borrowed power, and the plausibility consumed might be more than what he earned. Yoon Jae-young asked, "So Satan, how much plausibility have I actually used up on your account?" The next second, Satan whipped out a calculator and started meticulously calculating the plausibility spent. After a while, Satan said, "All in all, Master, you have to pay me 42,284 points of plausibility." Yoon Jae-young exclaimed, "Satan, do I look like a sucker? Give me a discount." Satan, visibly annoyed, retorted, "Master, you're bargaining with me? If you use the power, you have to pay the plausibility, right?" Yoon Jae-young, acting as if it wasn't his problem, said, "But I'm a VIP, aren't I? You should at least give me some coupons." Satan, frustrated, exclaimed, "Do you think I'm a department store?" Yoon Jae-young then threatened, "If you don't give me a discount, I'll only deal with Michael from now on." Michael immediately looked hopeful. "Is that true, Master?" Satan panicked and rounded down the amount. "Fine, 40,000 will do." Yoon Jae-young cut off another 5,000. "Satan, I think 35,000 is enough." At that moment, Satan was sweating profusely, 36,500, and I can't go any lower. Otherwise, I won't help you with divine descent anymore. Yoon Jae-young eagerly shook Satan's hand. "It's a deal." A pop-up notification appeared. "Necromancer divine descent has ended. You have consumed 36,500 plausibility. Achievement unlocked. Rip off the Demon King, first human." Negotiation skill significantly increased. Gaining the upper hand when negotiating with players and NPCs. Negotiation skill upgraded to level 7. Yoon Jae-young was bewildered. Could it be because Satan is the Devil King that I received such a reward? At that moment, Satan put on a mask of agony. "This way, I won't earn any plausibility at all." Yoon Jae-young took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. All in all, Duke's domain is chaotic enough. Since I've dealt with the obstacles in the game, it's time to deal with the ones in the real world. Satan, Michael, wait for me in the game. I'll be right back. After all, I need to wrap this up myself. You'll know what it's about in a moment. After Yoon Jae-young logged out of Arcadia, he immediately opened the chaotic official game website. Images of Burin Duke's domain had already made the hot search. The internet was filled with criticism of the game's planners. Next, Yoon Jae-young prepared another explosive expose to push this event to its climax, and it was time for GM Group to learn their lesson. Yoon Jae-young exported the videos recorded by Satan and Michael, and he was just one edit away from bringing down GM Group. The video essentially revealed that Choi Jae-ju had colluded with Duke Burin in advance, one to wage war and the other to hoard supplies, planning to profit from the national crisis together. $1 trillion in costs to make 10 trillion in profits, all facilitated by players who just knew how to play the game. After finishing the editing, the next step was to post it to his Destroyer's Daily Logs account. The next morning, the video broke 1 million views, and players in the comments immediately directed their anger at GM Group. At that moment, Choi Jae-ju, on the other side of the computer, was sweating profusely with dilated pupils. Choi Jae-ju roared in anger. How could our conversation have been leaked? There's no way it could have been overheard in that situation. I'll tear into pieces at all costs. Just then, Choi's steward reminded him, "Young master, the important thing now is not to catch the criminal, but that the chairman is called." Choi Jae-ju was in a panic. It's over. It's over. My father knows about this. Meanwhile, the news broadcast revealed the criminal activities of GM Group on television. Currently, Arcadia's official stance was made clear, stating they had evidence of GM Group's massive investments. Shockingly, the investment amount was as high as 1 trillion. In the office of Arcadia's minister, CEO Li Nian commented, "This is a good opportunity for GM Group to serve as a negative example to other envious conglomerates." However, what Li Nian was most interested in was the player behind all this manipulation. This video user named Destroyer's Daily Logs first captured footage of the Slime Siege battle until the destruction of the newbie village. Then, he tricked players into becoming iron mine slaves. Players were also severely exploited by NPCs in the game. Now, with the Duke Buren incident, he has stirred up major controversies in both worlds. Is he trying to tell us that the game's plot is too dull? At this moment, the mysterious player Li Nian spoke of was actually dozing off in class. Yoon Jae-young's actions, in a sense, changed players' understanding of the game Arcadia. To his classmates, the incidents in Arcadia not only made frequent news headlines, but the NPCs inside seemed to possess independent consciousness. Almost like a second reality. Of course, Choi Jae-ju's fate was clear. Becoming the public enemy of all players was unavoidable. Yoon Jae-young also successfully taught him a lesson. However, at that moment, the classroom instructor suddenly announced that starting today, the computer engineering department would officially be renamed the Virtual Reality Engineering College. The current computer industry could no longer keep up with the world's trends, and he believed everyone present had already experienced the game Arcadia. If we can't keep up with the world's transformations, all that awaits us is obsolescence. Next, your senior will teach the class, who is currently working inside Arcadia's virtual game. The instructor Kong Kil-joon introduced himself. "Hello everyone, I'm Kong Kil-joon. As you know, direct brain-to-machine communication is key to the materialization of virtual games. So next, I will test each student's synchronization rate between their brain and the game. The higher the value obtained from the test, the stronger your talents in virtual games will be. And the rate of electrical signal exchange between the brain and the machine is known as the game synchronization rate. The highest known game synchronization rate is 26%. However, a top student who tested a synchronization rate of 21% felt like he had reached the pinnacle of his life. He pointed at Yoon Jae-young, the underachiever, and taunted, "I'm really looking forward to seeing you embarrass yourself." But Yoon Jae-young just laughed at the comment, quickly lay in the testing pod, eager to see the top student get humiliated. The next instant, the test began, and the value jumped from 3% to 15% suddenly. But it didn't stop there. 20%, 30%, 45%. Yoon Jae-young's value soared to 55% in one breath. As a result, the energy released by the machine was dazzling, and the assistant hurriedly asked the teacher to stop the test. There must be a malfunction with this machine. But the experienced test teacher said it wasn't a malfunction. It's because the tester has an extremely high synchronization rate, resulting in the rare brain-computer integration state. Eventually, Yoon Jae-young's test result was 92.89%, a truly astonishing figure. The top student felt his cheeks burning, recalling his earlier taunt, realizing he was the actual joker. Yoon Jae-young then casually removed the device. Only 92%? Too bad it didn't reach 100%. Yoon Jae-young's videos amassed over 80 million views, earning him about 14 million in revenue. Now, he could finally pay off his installment plan for the gaming pod early. But as Yoon Jae-young looked at the seaweed rice roll in his hand, he vowed to earn another billion. After all, as long as he caused trouble in the game, the system would reward him with a certain amount of plausibility. Later, he could exchange this for equipment with Satan and Michael, potentially achieving financial freedom before even graduating college. Previously, Yoon Jae-young had caused trouble using the powers of the necromancer liquor gamer, leading an army of undead soldiers not just to kill the NPC Duke, but also to destroy his domain. This immediately angered the representatives of the Holy Faction, and thus the NPC Pope declared with imperial authority that all evil entities on this land be searched out and judged. When Yoon Jae-young logged into the game, still pondering where to cause trouble next, he unexpectedly received a new server-wide quest. But unlike other players, Yoon Jae-young could choose which faction he wanted to join. After some thought, Yoon Jae-young had already devised a new way to cause chaos. A female player with the ID Black Flame Dragon of Darkness, being the highest level black mage in the entire server, was recognized by the system as the strongest of the evil faction. Thus, the related quest Witch Hunt was generated. Players of the Holy Faction need to judge 15 million evildoers and execute Liquor Gamer. It turns out that 1,000 years ago during the Holy Demon War, two factions emerged, the Holy Profession faction and the Evil Profession faction. Members of the two factions were like water and fire, inherently incompatible. Under this game setting, players' antagonistic consciousness was subtly influenced. This led to rampant PK in Arcadia's wilderness, with friction between the two factions always maintaining a balance. One reason was the lack of a pretext for all-out war, and the other was the Pope's prohibition against adventurers piking within towns. However, now, a pretext for all-out war has emerged, and the rules set by the Pope have changed. Town PK will be temporarily allowed, and even the scales of power have tipped towards the side of justice. Not because there are too many players in the Holy Faction, but because the Evil Faction has yet to see a leader like the Pope emerge. So, the first step in Yoon Jae-young's plan to disrupt the balance was to let the game scales balance. He envisioned the necromancer Liquor Gamer descending upon the Arcadia continent again, but not attached to himself. Thus, Yoon Jae-young sent Satan to find the female player with the ID Black Flame Dragon of Darkness. Her existence was central to all of Yoon Jae-young's schemes. At this moment, she was exhausted and being besieged by a group of paladins. Just as the holy sword energy was about to strike her in a critical moment, Satan deflected all the incoming sword energy with his pinky finger. The leading paladin hesitated and asked, could it be a demon emissary from the demon world acting? This immediately caused Satan, being the Devil King, to surge with a killing intent, and a snot-sized energy ball immediately floated in front of the paladin. The next instant, bone-deep pain swept through the player's body, and with a point from Satan, hellfire utterly annihilated the paladin. The remaining Holy Profession players felt a chilling terror as Satan released the dark energy from his hands. The players immediately entered the corruption state. Satan smiled devilishly and said, "Take a look at your own bodies before you speak. Do you feel like you're about to crack?" Sure enough, in the next instant, all the players in front of him disintegrated into pieces and died. Meanwhile, the female player received dozens of pop-ups. You have encountered the oldest darkness. Looking at the small demon in front of her, the female player seemed to realize something and immediately knelt before Satan. Because she was certain that the demon lord in front of her was the Lord of Chaos, Satan himself. "It's an honor to meet you." Satan, pretending to be profound, said, "You're quite likable, girl, but you don't have a bit of muscle. You look so soft. No wonder the Holy Faction has been suppressing you." Satan was quite surprised by this. The girl quickly explained, "After all, I chose the Black Mage profession. It would be strange if I didn't recognize the Devil King. I came to you for a reason. Would you like to do something with me?" After hearing this, the girl's cheeks flushed, and she said, "Lord Satan, please speak freely." Satan, looking down from above, said, "As the top black mage in the national server, I want you to become a symbol of evil. The holy side has the Pope, and how can our evil faction be without a witch?" As Satan outlined an ancient formation, a contract formation emerged from beneath the girl's feet. Being a black mage herself, she could clearly sense how terrifying the magical power at the other end of the formation was. Satan, with a serious expression, said, "Human, I'm placing a big bet on you. I hope you handle this well." The next second, the necromancer Lich Argammer emerged from the formation. A pop-up notification appeared. You have absorbed the essence of the Lich. Congratulations on your job change to Commander of Doom. The Witch Hunt quest was updated, and as a member of the Evil Faction, you are to eliminate the Holy Faction's Imperial Pope and occupy the Maroon Empire. But the surprises for the girl didn't stop there. Because she was inhabited by Lich Argammer, her abilities neared those of the strongest NPCs in the game. Such terrifying ability levels had increased her character attributes tenfold. At least, allowing her, already the top player in the national server, to leap to being the top player in the entire server. Following Yoon Jae-young's intention, it wasn't just about balancing the power between good and evil. The game world was still not chaotic enough. Then Satan pulled out a scroll. "Come, which, from now on, prepare to recite what's written here. But upon seeing the content, the girl's pupils constricted. Satan activated the recording button. I'm starting to record now. As Yoon Jae-young anticipated, the situation in Arcadia unfolded just as he imagined. Players of the Holy Faction began forming teams to hunt down players of the evil professions, infuriating the evil faction players, causing many to quit the game. Now was the moment the evil faction longed for a hero. So Satan's recording came into play. Thus, the final showdown between good and evil quietly began with the release of Yoon Jae-young's video. The witch declared, as the top black mage in the national server, I speak for all in the evil faction. Currently, evil players are being maliciously killed by paladins, disrupting the therefore, as the leader of the evil professions. Not just as the top-ranked black magic user, but as commander of the undead Licher Gamer, I will lead everyone along with the undead army to resist the despicable practices of the Holy Empire. This video is sure to rally a large number of players back to the evil faction. However, Yoon Jae-young never expected that Arcadia's officials would suddenly announce. Due to the significant disparity in strength between the evil and holy factions, the 24-hour death penalty for all players of the evil faction is cancelled. This brought all the evil faction players who feared death penalties back into the game. There's the paladin who just killed me. No matter how many times I die now, I will chase you to the ends of hell. But the holy faction did not surrender. They organized support teams and began helping each other, balancing the power between the two sides. Thus, battles occurred non-stop, 24 hours a day, within the Maroon Kingdom. A pop-up notification appeared. Congratulations on intensifying the conflict between the factions of good and evil. The battle of virtue and vice in Arcadia has completely spiraled out of control. Congratulations on earning 63,921 plausibility. Yoon Jae-young didn't feel his actions alone were that influential. It was thanks to the game company cancelling the death penalties that he managed to benefit as a bystander. Because the more Yoon Jae-young stirred up trouble, the more plausibility he would earn. Thus, the angelic divine descent was initiated, choosing the character Paladin Cadiel. Before Yoon Jae-young's divine descent, he did his homework because 1,000 years ago, it was this very paladin who had run Lich Arjimer through with a sword and then imprisoned him in the abyss of the demon world for thousands of years, unable to escape. However, the holy sword named the End of Eternity was now firmly in Yoon Jae-young's hands. This was Yoon Jae-young's final method for reaping everything. At this moment, he was neither on the side of good nor evil, but acting as a troll to execute the originator of this quest. Meanwhile, Black Flame Dragon of Darkness was so immersed in her invincibility that she couldn't extricate herself. Behind her, thousands of undead served her command, making her feel as though no one in the world could oppose her. Clearly, the situation had now swung in favor of the evil side. Facing a few minor guards outside the palace, the witch merely had to release a hint of her aura to strike terror into the hearts of her enemies. With thousands of undead pressing forward, screams continually emanated from the palace, until the palace doors were pushed open and the witch stood before the silent, empty throne for a long while. The witch muttered to herself, I can hardly believe it, that I would end up ruling Maroon Kingdom, becoming the first player to annex a nation. Now that I am a queen, how much gold can I extract from Maroon Kingdom? The thought alone is delightful. Just then, the witch was startled by a voice. A young man in a black robe stands at the palace door, and outside, thousands of undead soldiers lie slain by his holy sword. The witch asked cautiously, who goes there? Did you kill the undead at the entrance? In the next instant, the witch launched a curse arrow speeding towards Yoon Jae-young. Yoon Jae-young immediately revealed a mischievous smile, murmuring a paladin's chant under his breath. The next moment, the sword awakened and burst into dazzling golden light, easily deflecting the demonic arrows. A flicker of alarm crossed the witch's mind, because the holy sword in Yoon Jae-young's hands even made her soul tremble. Yoon Jae-young got to the point. You, having gained the power to disrupt balance, and even taken over a country, should be satisfied by now, shouldn't you? The witch panicked. How do you know about these plans? Who are you exactly? Yoon Jae-young's lips curled slightly. You ask who I am? I am your creditor, here to reclaim the power I lent you. Seeing the holy sword in Yoon Jae-young's hands, the lich, our gamer, inside the witch felt a deep unease. A pop-up notification appeared. You are bound by immense holiness. The end of eternity deems you a subject for judgment. The witch felt nothing but bitterness and disbelief. Enveloped in holy aura, Yoon Jae-young suddenly gave a devilish smile and said, "Madam, it's time to end your Cinderella magic." The witch ground her teeth in frustration. I'm the top player on the national server. What right does an unranked newbie like you have to make me afraid? The next instant, a spell for summoning was generated, and the witch attempted to complete the incantation with utmost speed. But the necromancer inside her hurriedly interrupted. Contractor, you must flee as fast as you can, or there will only be one outcome. It turns out that the holy sword in Yoon Jae-young's hands, named the End of Eternity, had once sealed Lich Art Gamer for 1,000 years. But it was already too late for the witch to escape. She might as well fight with all her might. As her incantation ended, 3 intermediate undead were revived and summoned by the formation. Yet Yoon Jae-young remained calm. And the End of Eternity let out a dragon-like roar, releasing a sword beam longer than himself. A pop-up notification appeared. Magic disruption activated, increasing damage against evil attributes by 80%. Yoon Jae-young taunted, "What good does it do? My sword beam is long and thick. Come on, pitiful little undead. Your soul should rest now." The next instant, the intermediate undead crumbled under the touch of the holy light. The witch felt the pressure increasing. If such a sword beam hits me, will I meet the same fate? What exactly is this holy sword? Yoon Jae-young wasn't sure either. After all, this is a weapon manifested by the spirit of an angelic divine descent. In the next moment, Yoon Jae-young thrust the witch into the night sky with his sword beam, where the explosion of light from good and evil shone as brightly as the stars and moon together. Envious players around them exclaimed, "Are we even playing the same game?" Players with good eyesight immediately recognized the witch Black Flame Dragon of Darkness. But who was her opponent that they had never seen before? Using the time she was airborne, the witch quickly released a dark magic summon. But the Death Knight that had just begun to emerge was scared back by the light from Yoon Jae-young's holy sword. A pop-up notification appeared. Your summoned creature, Death Knight, shall rest eternally due to the effect of eternal rest. It is impossible to resummon them. The witch thought Yoon Jae-young's holy sword could only restrict a few summons, but she regretted trying again. No matter how many times she summoned, the holy sword melted the undead as efficiently as a magic mirror, killing them within minutes. Without her undead, the necromancer was destined to be defeated. The holy sword was essentially their natural enemy. Yoon Jae-young coldly said, "Madam, it's time to wrap this up." At this moment, although Yoon Jae-young was surrounded by holy light in the eyes of the witch, he was the most evil devil king. The skill Moral Judgment activated. This skill ignores all armor upon hitting and inflicts a 500% damage bonus against foes with evil attributes. The witch received a pop-up notification. The great holiness from the holy sword has encroached upon your body. Lich Argamer's soul screams in pain. Fatal damage. You are currently in the state of dying. Before dying, the witch was puzzled. Why are you doing this to me? The witch hunt quest should have ended long ago, and defeating me brings no benefit to the holy side. Yoon Jae-young's lips curled slightly. I was waiting on purpose. And you needed to die after taking over Maroon Kingdom for the final piece of my plan to fall into place. But you don't need to hate me, because your death will lead to happiness for both the holy and evil factions. This is the purpose I have created you for. At that moment, Lich Argamer recognized the person before him. Isn't this the player who once borrowed my power? After the swing of the Judgment Blade, the witch let out a frustrated scream, and Lich Argamer's soul was also severely damaged by Yoon Jae-young. A pop-up notification appeared. The pact between Lich Argamer and the witch has been forcibly annulled. And the greatest necromancer in history has thus perished. Yoon Jae-young, looking at the holy sword in his hand, remarked, "Madam, don't feel too wrong. because from the moment this quest began, your fate was already sealed. In fact, Black Flame Dragon of Darkness felt more regret than resentment. Although all this was illusory, at least she had sat on the throne and experienced unprecedented power, which was enjoyable in its own right. The moment the female player died, Yoon Jae-young ended the angelic divine descent. A pop-up notification appeared. Lich Argammer sinks into eternal rest, and the Holy Faction has also achieved the victory condition for the Witch Hunt quest. What Yoon Jae-young was now looking forward to was how Arcadia would conclude under these ambiguous circumstances. Soon after, a red conflict pop-up appeared. Both camps have fulfilled winning conditions, and simultaneously, the AI Alice began calculating the final results of the Witch Hunt quest. The victory condition for the Holy Faction was to kill 50,000 evil players and Lich Argammer. Currently, the Holy Faction had only completed one of these, with over 40,000 kills, but still not fully meeting the requirement. On the other hand, the evil faction's objectives were to kill the Pope and occupy Maroon Kingdom, but the evil faction only completed the occupation without killing the Pope. In terms of completion, the Holy Faction's score could reach 96%, but since both sides only fulfilled one condition each, the final result could only be one. Thus, a server-wide announcement was made. The Holy Faction and the Evil Faction are tied. This caused quite a stir among players of the Holy Faction. Then a pop-up notification appeared. The Holy Faction will distribute rewards based on user contribution, and the trigger rate for hidden professions in the Holy Faction will increase. However, because the witch had occupied Maroon Kingdom for the next year, Maroon Kingdom cannot be targeted for war. This means that Maroon Kingdom is now the main base for players of evil professions. The final pop-up notification read, "Prelude of Forgotten Darkness Brewing. Related quest Witch Hunt has ended. The laws of Arcadia continent are reactivated, prohibiting indiscriminate PK between good and evil." The game developers wanted to drag Yoon Jae-young out for a beating, as he was the mastermind behind these events. At this moment, he was enjoying the rewards that belonged only to him. A pop-up notification appeared. Congratulations to the host for achieving a legendary achievement, overturning the situation on Arcadia's second continent and balancing the scales of good and evil. Congratulations on earning 210,000 plausibility points. And this was how Yoon Jae-young's troll profession became stronger. He was really looking forward to seeing what fun events would happen next. Just then, another pop-up notification appeared. Second phase of the profession quest has ended. Special conditions met. Distributing special rewards for the Bard of Anarchy profession. Beginning assessment of player contributions. The next instant, Yoon Jae-young jumped up from the throne, startled. This reward really solves my urgent need. A pop-up notification read, "Congratulations on acquiring the skill Bestow Plausibility. You can grant plausibility to non-living objects to change their causality." Does this mean I can directly use plausibility to enhance a weapon that newbies can equip, then take it to be auctioned as a relic? He immediately took out his newbie gear, Rusty Iron Sword. This was a weapon made for newbies, with a pitifully low single-digit attack power. Satan and Mikhail teased. "Master, are you reminiscing about the hard times?" Yoon Jae-young then raised the rusty sword and activated the skill Bestow. The next instant, a golden light filled with causality burst forth from the sword. A game pop-up notification appeared. Reviewed the item's characteristics and history. Enhancement requires 9,000 plausibility. 9,000 is equivalent to the price of obtaining an epic weapon. Yoon Jae-young decisively chose yes. After all, curiosity overcame his thriftiness. I hope the enhancement doesn't disappoint me. A pop-up notification appeared. Plausibility successfully bestowed. The rusty sword settings have been altered. The next second, the rusty sword emitted a mournful wail. And images of Yoon Jae-young using the rusty sword to slaughter newbies in the past suddenly surfaced on the blade. A pop-up notification appeared. Rusty sword enhancement complete. Becoming the first unique attribute equipment in the server. Congratulations on acquiring the new equipment Bloodsucker. Attack power increased by 5,000%. Durability increased by 100,000%. And it has gained incredible traits like bloodthirsty and berserk. The only thing that hasn't changed much is its appearance. Yoon Jae-young thought to himself, if even newbie equipment can be so overpowered, then. He eagerly opened his storage and took out the Den Destroyer previously used for mining. Yoon Jae-young mused to himself, what would happen if this epic level equipment were enhanced? Could the mining efficiency also increase by hundreds of times? Yoon Jae-young hastily bestowed it with plausibility. But the result was obvious. The enhancement failed. The reason was that the item had no characteristics or history. Yoon Jae-young realized, the rusty sword could be enhanced because I used it to slaughter tens of thousands of new players. The Den Destroyer even mined angelic ores. The only difference I can think of is that the object for enhancement needs to have caused direct impact in Arcadia. When Satan heard Yoon Jae-young spent 9,000 plausibility to upgrade junk equipment and then planned to sell it, he felt a twinge of pain. Satan complained, Master, if you need gold, just tell us. I'd exchange 1 gold for a point of plausibility. 9,000 plausibility could nearly get 100 million in the real world. Yoon Jae-young looked disdainful. I receive dividends from Baroness Mikhail every month, plus the money I make as a gaming blogger. I've already achieved financial freedom. But what puzzled Satan was, since you created Bloodsucker, why don't you use it yourself? Yoon Jae-young had considered using the weapon himself. But what kind of interesting events might occur if this weapon appeared in Arcadia's auction house? So, why not put it up for auction and see what happens? The moment Bloodsucker appeared in the auction, players across Arcadia went wild. In the real world, some people were willing to sell their houses and divorce to buy it. Others sold their companies to raise money, and some guilds bet all their funds to secure it. Overnight, a newbie weapon was frantically bid on, and the price skyrocketed to over 5,000 gold coins. In the game, equipment is categorized into 6 levels: common, rare, uncommon, epic, legendary, and finally mythological. But unique level equipment hasn't even been released by the design team yet. Could this be a system bug? Thus, the officials stepped in righteously, forcibly stopping the bidding for Bloodsucker and even treating the item as a bug for recall. Naturally, customer service was flooded with inquiries from a multitude of players. But the Arcadia operations team had to prevent equipment that could disrupt game balance from surfacing. Afterward, wherever players gathered in the game, someone would mention this equipment. Yet for some, more conspicuous than the unique label was the idea of the auctioneer, Dex. Could this Dex be the same one? The genius is sports player who retired, who played against professional players as if he were leading children. After all, he is the one who created the Legend of God Descends, 1v5. A knight who became a myth for casual players. But for some, he is a question mark. And for some professional players, he is an archenemy. Thus, the news that Dex was playing Arcadia spread. However, Yoon Jae-young was understandably upset about having a unique level item confiscated out of the blue. But Yoon Jae-young was too composed. Upon reflection, he considered that the performance of the equipment wasn't outrageously overpowered. Could it be interpreted that the game officials were deliberately targeting him? Yet they couldn't trace his real identity. Even exposing his ID didn't help them trace him. They couldn't even call him. So they chose to recall the equipment, an extreme measure. It's likely they wanted him to contact them proactively. Even if his ID is exposed in the future, they can't track him down. Nor can they take any coercive measures against him personally. Could this also be a power possessed by the hidden profession Bard of Anarchy to blatantly cause chaos without game operators being able to intervene? After all, if Bloodsucker is gone, he could just make another. But this proves that his personal safety is secure, and he won't have any worries about causing trouble in the future. Just as Yoon Jae-young had guessed, the order to confiscate the equipment came from the National Server's operations director. Because the form of the sword was exactly the same as the one used by the rookie-slaying demon in the past. At the time, even with the minister's authority, they couldn't find his user information. This time, they also couldn't find out who this Dex was. Surely there must be some connection. The operations director gritted his teeth. I refuse to believe this kid won't slip up. Dex, every move you make is within my grasp. As a result, the director worked overtime in the customer service department for an entire week, nearly collapsing from exhaustion. But Yoon Jae-young never called. The director fumed. Damn it, Dex really knows how to keep his cool. So, the director reported the matter to the higher-ups, to President Lee Myun. The director pleaded, "You must see justice done for me." Then, the usually icy Lee Myun suddenly smiled. Alright, it's unfair to corner someone like that. Let's strike back. I remember director Kwon Myung-han once proposed a game event. Yes, that one you're thinking of. Get ready, we can start it tomorrow. Sure enough, the old-fashioned event was called, A Fair Strike for All, the Great Bamboo Spear Battle. Arcadia issued a server-wide announcement for this event. The rules of the Bamboo Spear Battle were as simple as its name, regardless of player level. One poke meant death. Players' only weapon was a bamboo spear, and while they could use skills, only the bamboo spear could deal damage. Only the last surviving player could win. Yoon Jae-young knew right away that this event was organized for him, because they only knew there was someone named Dex. But they didn't know this user's game IP or appearance. Of course, the final survivor could choose any piece of equipment from those they had defeated, and the officials would provide an identical copy as a reward. Yoon Jae-young smirked, this event is too interesting to ignore. Bring it on, let's see how I'll disrupt your game this time. In the first phase of the Bamboo Spear Battle, players just had to survive among 3,292,671 participants until only 1,000 remain. Then the event would move to the second phase. As soon as the game started, it was a massacre, with everyone desperately fighting each other. A level 25 player, after sneakily assassinating a level 100 expert and smugly popping champagne, died the next second from someone else's bamboo spear. Some players blindly slaughtered to satisfy their desires, while others used sheer power to start forming their own teams. Meanwhile, the main character Yoon Jae-young was lurking in a corner, quietly preparing to cheat. After confirming with Satan that divine descent was available, Yoon Jae-young immediately initiated the summoning of a heroic spirit. This time, his choice for divine descent was called Haunting Twilight. In this bamboo spear battle, players' greatest fear is the penetrating bamboo spears. Yet Haunting Twilight can be immune to all physical attacks. At this moment, a player who tried to sneak attack Yoon Jae-young malfunctioned mentally because the attack was ineffective. Yoon Jae-young turned his head with a slight smirk. Didn't you get it? You can't hit me. With a thrust of the bamboo spear, the attacker was already eliminated. Yoon Jae-young knew well that the key to this event was to survive discreetly. If there are no witnesses, doesn't it mean being unnoticeable? Then quickly eliminate the weak players. Players with leadership skills began forming bamboo spear reform groups, ostensibly to punish those who abused the bamboo spear. But in reality, it was to survive. Yoon Jae-young scoffed at this. It's a big forest with all sorts of birds. At the leader's command, the whole group charged towards Yoon Jae-young alone. But Yoon Jae-young was not afraid, and the enemies poked him hundreds of times without causing any damage. Yoon Jae-young sneered with a hint of mockery. My passive skill completely ignores physical attacks when I'm in a non-combat state. In the next instant, Yoon Jae-young achieved the legendary 4 breaks per second. The leader was stunned. What is this guy's game synchronization rate? Yoon Jae-young coldly said, next, it's your turn. Break for me. Break. With the extreme speed enhancement, the bamboo spear instantly penetrated. In just 3 seconds, the newly formed bamboo spear reform group was disbanded on the spot. Yoon Jae-young, undefeated and lonely, hoped to encounter a skilled opponent. Otherwise, the game would be too boring. At this moment, a pop-up notification appeared. You have defeated 1,000 players, and the number of players still surviving has now reached 2,813. In the previous hour, hundreds of thousands could be eliminated. But since the small fries started banding together, the number has decreased slowly. Yoon Jae-young mused to himself, it seems I have to pull them out one by one. Just then, Yoon Jae-young heard a girl scream beside him. The next second, the girl, unable to stop herself, crashed directly into Yoon Jae-young's body. The two merged at that moment. It turned out the girl was being chased by the second-ranked mage in the national server. Starlight Witch said arrogantly, "Since you've survived this long, it means you're special. I hope you won't interfere in a matter between girls." Yoon Jae-young pondered for a moment, seeming to understand. But faced with the redhead girl's plea for protection, Yoon Jae-young turned to leave. Yoon Jae-young said coldly, "Madam, I am under no obligation to help you, especially since the other party is the second-ranked mage in the national server. Engaging her now brings me no benefit." Just as Yoon Jae-young was about to leave, a pop-up notification appeared. Mission update. After reading the content, Yoon Jae-young felt like cursing. At this moment, Starlight Witch is gradually closing in on the girl. Just as the girl is prepared to accept her death, about to be pierced by a bamboo spear, Yoon Jae-young still teleports to block the fatal strike for the girl. Starlight Witch, puzzled, said, "Weren't you about to leave?" Yoon Jae-young gritted his teeth. How was I to know such a damn quest would appear, forcing me to protect such a foolish person? It turned out Yoon Jae-young had received the third phase of his hidden profession quest. As the influence of helper expands, you need to recruit future helpers. Whenever you encounter players marked with a specific symbol above their heads, the plausibility you are responsible for will differ, and she is the one you need to recruit. Clearly, the redhead girl had this symbol above her head. It turned out the girl was an apprentice of the Grand Sorcerer of Starmoon. The Grand Sorcerer had created Starlight Magic and Moonlight Magic, and the inheritor of the Starlight Magic was the current second-ranked Starlight Witch Stella, and the inheritor of Moonlight Magic was naturally the redhead girl, Angelina. This was the gift left by the Grand Sorcerer before his long journey. If the two magic books were combined, one could become a great sorcerer surpassing human limits. But for Angelina, this opportunity was not just a chance to become stronger, but a curse that she would struggle to escape from her entire life. So that's why the chase just now happened. The resolute Yoon Jae-young demanded that Stella unconditionally let her go. Starlight Witch Stella frowned. "What if I say I'm not willing?" Yoon Jae-young revealed a smile. "Then, let's fight. I'll have to eliminate you to protect her." Stella immediately pulled out her magic wand. "With just your newbie equipment, you think you can?" As Stella chanted, the spell Chain Lightning was launched. Yoon Jae-young couldn't dodge in time. It turned out to be a spell combining the effects of slow, stun, and weakness. Following that, Stella unleashed Firebolt, Magic Hold, Entangle, and Wind Cutter for spells not very powerful, but with negative effects one after another. Yoon Jae-young, while immune to physical attacks, couldn't block the negative effects. But he endured them, and he had another purpose in doing so. Yoon Jae-young muttered, "Damn, my vision is blurring." Until Starlight Stella approached him. In her eyes, Yoon Jae-young appeared like a lamb to the slaughter. But in Yoon Jae-young's eyes, Stella was the lamb. Just as the bamboo spear was about to pierce Yoon Jae-young, a pop-up notification appeared. "You cannot attack this target." Stella's pupils dilated, and the next second, she felt a sharp pain in her abdomen. Yoon Jae-young completed a counter-kill on the second-ranked mage in the national server. "You were doomed to fail from the start of this battle, and I am immune to all physical attacks." Before dying, Stella spat out resentful words, but still died at the hands of Yoon Jae-young. The redhead girl was dumbfounded. What kind of monster is this guy? Then, Angelina ran over to Yoon Jae-young and bowed at 90 degrees to express her gratitude. After 3 minutes of explanation, Angelina finished telling Yoon Jae-young about her feud with Stella. Yoon Jae-young asked, "So, what are your plans for the future?" Days of being hunted by the second-ranked mage in the server don't sound pleasant. Upon asking, he learned that the girl was currently level 43. Considering the strongest player in the server was already beyond level 100, level 43 was relatively low. Yet, despite being level 43, Angelina was still wearing level 15 newbie gear. The girl stuttered, because I've been running away, I'm really short on money, so I couldn't afford better gear. But then, Yoon Jae-young had an idea. Don't I have the bestow plausibility skill, and since she's the helper selected for my hidden profession, maybe I really can. Excited, Yoon Jae-young leaned in close to the girl. Quick, take off all your gear and give it to me. The level 15 newbie gear, once enhanced by Yoon Jae-young using the bestow plausibility skill, instantly transformed into the server-wide unique level noob divine set. The terrifying addition of the unique level set wasn't in casting high-level magic, but in allowing the mage to use level 1 spells indefinitely. Because the unique level set reduced the mana cost of level 1 spells by 99%, and a unique level staff allowed the character to cast spells instantly without chanting. Just then, two unobservant players attacked, and Yoon Jae-young chuckled. Angelina, let's leave these two mobs to you. A good test for the equipment's performance. The two players were furious and leaped towards Angelina. A pop-up notification appeared. Your suit's special effect has been activated. The barrier that normally took 2 seconds of chanting appeared in the blink of an eye. But the defensive level 1 magic was too weak. Having no choice, the girl cast over 20 barriers in 1 second, originally for defense, but she used them for repulsion instead. The weakness of the noob divine set was its lack of damage. As long as she didn't face high-level players, even if outnumbered, Angelina didn't need to worry. Because with just level 1 magic missiles, she could cast about 180 in a second. Then, condensing 100 magic missiles and releasing them, the resulting explosion is powerful enough to instantly kill any mid-level player. After killing the two clowns with the bamboo spear, a pop-up notification appeared just in time. 1,000 survivors remain. The first round of the bamboo spear battle has ended. What Yoon Jae-young didn't know was that today marked the birth of the future PvP maniac, Angelina. At this point, the advantage of having a helper was already evident. With Angelina's participation, her performance in the game could also help Yoon Jae-young acquire plausibility. The remaining 1,000 players were all teleported back to the starting plaza. At that moment, the referee announced the new rules for the second round. Due to the discovery of players with immunity to physical damage in the first round, hits by bamboo spears will now also be considered as magical damage. This meant that Yoon Jae-young's absolute defense could no longer block the bamboo spears, clearly showing that the officials were targeting him. But Yoon Jae-young laughed out loud upon hearing this. Satan, it's my turn to revel now. Then, the referee added another new rule. To balance the bamboo spear battle, players' equipment will be disabled, meaning the newly enhanced noob divine set was now useless. With such challenging conditions, how would Yoon Jae-young dominate the field? However, starting now, poison gas would spread from the perimeter of the map to the central area, moving at the speed of a running human. The referee announced the start of the second round of the bamboo spear battle. Please keep moving, don't stop. Yet, at this moment, Yoon Jae-young detected a new loophole in the second round. He also suggested that he and Angelina split up. Angelina initially thought she was being used again, but Yoon Jae-young realistically explained, if I were going to abandon you now, I wouldn't have saved you in the first place. However, I'm pleased to have become partners with you, Angelina. Yoon Jae-young gently touched Angelina's head. If possible, we'll meet in the third round, because my actions this time might not guarantee your safety. So, goodbye, Angelina. Then Yoon Jae-young turned around and initiated another divine descent. Come forth, Poison King Azakar. As the name suggests, his ability is extreme poison resistance, and it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say he's immune to all poisons. At the moment of divine descent, Yoon Jae-young even began to feel an affinity for toxicity. Yoon Jae-young muttered to himself, the intent of the second round of the bamboo spear battle is to push us towards areas without poison gas. But they didn't say we couldn't do the opposite. Players fear the consequences of the poison, which will only lead them to congregate in the center of the map. Once 1,000 people are consumed by the poison gas, I can reap the benefits. A pop-up notification appeared. You have entered a toxic area. The next second, the passive skill immune to all poisons activated. A special skill, blood toxicity, emerged, and you can absorb the surrounding poison gas into your blood. As Yoon Jae-young predicted, this level of poison gas was trivial compared to the Poison King. Yoon Jae-young spared no expense and plausibility to use Divine Descent twice, all for the reward of becoming the champion. At the center of the map, as the safe zone shrunk, a fierce battle inevitably broke out. Amidst a barrage of countless skills, a supreme champion emerged. Her ID name was Cassius. At this moment, 4 players in the central area decided to team up against her. But she was not at all flustered. She used her bamboo spear as if it were a sword. Employing game's word skills not limited to character abilities, but also her own creative maneuvers. In this competition, only the bamboo spear could deliver a fatal blow. At that moment, she was targeted by a hidden archer, but her keen insight allowed her to maneuver her character to dodge in time. Remember, the archer was hiding 800 meters away. Cassius even pinpointed the archer's location in the blink of an eye and swiftly reached where the archer was. She leaped up, using the bamboo spear as a long spear, and before the archer could react, it was over. But what troubled Cassius was that despite her dizzying maneuvers, that guy still hadn't shown up. Cassius called out impatiently, "Dex, where exactly are you hiding?" Because at this moment, only 2 players remained in the second round of the bamboo spear battle. A pop-up notification appeared. The second round of the bamboo spear battle has ended. And the third round will be a 1v1 final showdown. Yet Yoon Jae-young was still lurking in the toxic area and hadn't come out. But the poison gas continued to shrink. As long as he stayed long enough, he would be the only one left. The thought of effortlessly picking up the reward made him quite pleased. At this moment, Yoon Jae-hyun was being targeted by the head of scenario planning. Players couldn't withstand the poison gas. Even level 200 players were affected and lost health. Yet Yoon Jae-hyun remained completely unaffected for a whole 30 minutes. The director's eyes bulged with rage. At this rate, he's guaranteed to win. He immediately used his level 3 administrative privileges to access the game's AI, Alice. A pop-up notification appeared. Successfully escalated the poison fog to the highest level, and poison resistance skills have been nullified. However, Director Kwon Ming-hun's use of administrative rights against a player will be met with penalties, including a salary cut, fewer vacations, and a meeting with the chairman. Considering the penalties light, Kwon Ming-hun decisively chose, "I am willing to accept all punishments." Sure enough, Yoon Jae-hyun also received a notification about the poison fog change. It was clearly a direct target from the officials. Even Satan was panicked by the potency of the poison. Even the Poison King himself would struggle to resist this. Yoon Jae-hyun looked at the ID of the other survivor and was not surprised at all. One was himself and the other was named Cassius, clearly also targeting him. The ID was exactly the same as that time, only it was uncertain if she would be even more formidable in this game of Arcadia. Because Yoon Jae-hyun had reached the central area of the poison fog, a pop-up notification appeared. The third round of the bamboo spear battle, the final showdown, begins now. Let the battle commence. It turns out Cassius was once defeated by Yoon Jae-hyun. Yoon Jae-hyun's emergence trampled on her 10 years of effort since an RPG game that swept the world 20 years ago. Until Icarus went offline, the player named Cassius had never fallen from the top spot. Until the player named Dex appeared, Cassius was utterly defeated, feeling as if her 10 years were wasted. Then, a move by Yoon Jae-hyun made her break down on the spot. The number 1 player, Dex's account, was logged out at that moment, and her pride of being at the top for 10 years was destroyed by Yoon Jae-hyun in just one day. Now, Cassius' hidden skill in Arcadia is called Quick Pull, which means mastery over all equipment. This allowed her to bring her Icarus combat style to this game. Yes, Dex, this is my chance to surpass you. But Yoon Jae-hyun simply didn't give her a chance. As Yoon Jae-hyun stepped into the final round of the bamboo spear battle, the last round quietly began, since the opponent was her. Then, angelic divine descent activated, choosing the heavenly throne all-weapon master, Calypso. A pop-up notification appeared. Divine descent successful. Calypso's ultimate skill is called King of 10,000 Soldiers. Yoon Jae-hyung had only 1 minute to adapt to the new character's abilities. Calypso's ability is to freely transform the weapon in hand, from daggers to longswords to shields. There's nothing he can't change into. Yoon Jae-hyung's flurry of maneuvers left Satan and Michael astonished at the sight. Satan exclaimed, even if Calypso himself were here, perhaps he couldn't match the master's weapon switching speed. Yoon Jae-hyung muttered to himself, alright, practice is over, let the final battle begin. In the next instant, Yoon Jae-hyung disappeared from his spot. When he reappeared, Cassius was forced into a defensive block. Cassius gritted her teeth and stared at her archenemy. Listening to Yoon Jae-hyung's taunts, Cassius defiantly activated her skill quick pull, switching through 3 types of weapons in succession, ultimately selecting her prized longsword. Watching the imminent attack, Yoon Jae-hyung remained calm. His skill king of 10,000 soldiers activated, and like Cassius, he too formed a longsword to complete the block. Cassius incredulously demanded, Dex, are you deliberately using the same skills as me? Following several weapon switch standoffs, Yoon Jae-hyung consistently had the upper hand. Repeated clashes led to Cassius exposing a gap on her side. A moment of dazzling sword light burst on the ceiling. Cassius roared angrily, is Dex deliberately using the same skills as me? Yoon Jae-hyung, looking down from above, cheered for Cassius, but this only made her more furious, launching a fierce and unstoppable assault. Though both used the same skills, Yoon Jae-hyung's king of 10,000 soldiers was more domineering. He could switch equipment by merely transforming it, while Cassius needed time to switch. So Cassius immediately created a distance of 100 meters between them. She thrust a bamboo spear that could cause fatal wounds into the ground, and then extended her left hand to summon weapons. Yoon Jae-hyung frowned slightly. What exactly is she planning? In the next moment, Cassius drew an ancient ceremonial sword from its scabbard. It sounded like a dragon emerging from the sea, immersing one instantly in a surge of battle spirit. Yoon Jae-hyung's expression became serious, as he contemplated his next move. A nearly invisible blade of light grazed his neck, its force breaking through the air. A stunning display of Cassius's final killer move. A pop-up notification appeared. You have sustained critical injuries, including fractures and bleeding. Negative conditions are now active, since it's the bamboo spear battle. No damage other than that from a bamboo spear could be fatal. But it could still afflict the player with negative conditions. In the next instant, Cassius disappeared from the spot. Dex, the tables have turned. Are you ready to give up retaliating? Although Yoon Jae-hyung was frustrated, he had to admit that defense was all he could do for now. It must be that the sword had terrifying attributes to boost her speed so significantly. At that moment, all-weapon master Calypso attempted to reach out to Yoon Jae-hyung. Michael also received a message. Michael relayed to Yoon Jae-hyung, Master, Calypso has asked me to tell you that the sword that struck you is his legacy sword. Lost in Arcadia to choose a successor. Besides bestowing a special class, it also comes with a skill-transmitting necklace. As the player grows stronger, more legacy skills from the necklace are unlocked. But he's currently unable to sense the necklace's presence, which is why he wants to speak with you directly. Yoon Jae-hyung finally understood why Cassius' skills were so similar to those of the Celestial Throne. With no other choice, Yoon Jae-hyung first tried to inquire. Cassius, you got that sword from a quest, right? Cassius immediately became weary. How did you guess that? I got this sword as a reward from a strange wanderer. Is there a problem? A pop-up notification appeared. Calypso is excited. Ask her about my necklace. Yoon Jae-hyung continued. So Cassius, besides the sword, you also got a necklace, right? Cassius was startled. How does Dex know everything so clearly? She explained. The necklace was labeled as unidentified equipment, and I found out that identifying it required purchasing a scroll. I thought the necklace was plain, so it wasn't worth the money to identify it. Eventually, I sold it along with other miscellaneous items, making 15 copper coins. Calypso was furious upon hearing this, but could only send frantic pop-ups to Yoon Jae-hyung. However, the pop-ups could not soothe Calypso's emotions. At this point, Calypso even volunteered to use his own plausibility to fully descend within Yoon Jae-hyung's body. Yoon Jae-hyung was fine with it. But Michael, is this really possible? After some consideration, Michael agreed to Calypso's request. I, Archangel Michael, permit all weapon master Calypso to temporarily intervene. In the next instant, Yoon Jae-hyung's body was permeated by a mighty divine sword aura. Yoon Jae-hyung was amazed. Is this what a true divine descent is supposed to be? Cassius shivered unconsciously. A pop-up notification appeared. Calypso's full divine descent successful. Body sovereignty temporarily transferred. Yoon Jae-hyung switched to spectator mode. Yoon Jae-hyung, now brimming with murderous intent, said, I heard you bundled and sold that necklace? Despite my best intentions, you short-sighted fool. The next instant, Yoon Jae-hyung's body was suffused with dazzling golden divine power. Dozens of divine weapons arrayed around him, exuding an unrivaled presence that made Cassius's soul tremble. She was unable to move her body. At this moment, Yoon Jae-hyung was like a god descended to earth, raising his majestic giant sword and smashing it down towards Cassius. Due to the rules of the bamboo spear battle, although Cassius could only be thrust into severe states like near death, exhaustion, and critical injury, her body had to endure the agony of being torn apart. This strike contained the ultimate essence of swordsmanship. Calypso, seething with rage, exclaimed, You disgrace! It seems you truly are ignorant. Your skill quick pull. Do you even realize it was not solely for mastering all weapons? It embodies my fervent hope of mastering the world's weapons with my sweat and blood. When it is perfected, the skill will evolve into king of 10,000 soldiers. Cassius looked perplexed. Was Yoon Jae-hyung really not making things out? In the moment you discarded the necklace, you lost the teachings I left for you. You could have become an exceptional swordsman, but you chose to sell it to a peddler. After swallowing hard, Cassius asked, Dex, no, may I ask who you really are? As Calypso, who had been furious, saw the sword, his expression softened. Long time no see, my partner. For the first time, Cassius realized her sword possessed profound emotions. It whined softly, as if responding to the millennia of longing. Partner, we are fortunate to have met someone noble. Allowing me to use another's body to see you again, Calypso said with a gentle smile. Though your current wielder is slow and foolish, at least her intentions are good, and I don't have the time to find you another. Cassius was stunned. He's actually talking to my sword. At this moment, the divine power of Calypso within Yoon Jae-hyung was gradually fading. Calypso admonished the sword. My old friend, please take good care of this foolish successor. A pop-up notification then appeared. The old nameless sword wants to complain, but swears to be understanding of the situation. The old nameless sword accepts you as its owner. The old nameless sword has sworn its allegiance. The item's hidden skill has been revealed. The item's rank has been updated. Hidden quest. You've received the quest Find the Lost Necklace. The moment Cassius acknowledged the old nameless sword as her master, she could clearly sense the emotions of the sword. She then realized what true unity between a person and a sword meant, and how foolish she had been to sell the necklace. Calypso chuckled. My inept disciple, don't disappoint me again. A pop-up warning appeared. Insufficient plausibility. Full descent of Calypso has been revoked. Yoon Jae-hyung has regained control of his body. Yoon Jae-hyung felt enlightened. So this is the true power of a heavenly throne. Cassius finally understood that the Yoon Jae-hyung who had been possessed by a god was her master. The next second, she collapsed to the ground. Yoon Jae-hyung was surprised. No wonder she didn't fall despite the intensity of the negative effects just now. She was toughing it out. This person really has grit. Since it was a bamboo spear battle, Cassius' character didn't die, but couldn't avoid being heartbreakingly targeted by Yoon Jae-hyung. Yoon Jae-hyung pointedly said, the sword and the necklace came as a paired reward. There must have been a hidden quest. That's become a standard in games now. Haven't you played any other games besides the Kuros in the last 10 years? You're such an antique. But Cassius was puzzled. What exactly is your profession? Dex, the person who fought me just now wasn't you. Yoon Jae-hyung had to pass it off with his possession, hidden profession. Then he pointed to the bamboo spear in his hand. We haven't settled our battle yet. Cassius sighed with relief. Dex, you're playing dumb. It will take at least 3 minutes for me to recover from being near death. No doubt, I'll be tortured to death by the incoming poison fog first. So, Dex, you win this round. Yoon Jae-hyung felt it was a pity. It would be great to have a serious duel with you again. Despite the pain, Cassius managed to smile. Next time we meet, I'll definitely be the last one laughing. Yoon Jae-hyung gripped his bamboo spear tightly. You're quite competitive, woman. Well then, see you next time. With that, Yoon Jae-hyung decisively eliminated Cassius with his bamboo spear. Pop-up alert. The winner of the bamboo spear battle has been determined. Congratulations to player Dex for the final victory. As the main battles of the bamboo spear battle were live-streamed, numerous championship contenders emerged before the cameras. For instance, Starlight Witch Stella, who was instantly defeated by Yoon Jae-hyung in a previous strike. The Bamboo Spear Reform Group, which advocated for equality for all, and the strongest championship contender Cassius, who still fell to his hand. Undoubtedly, Dex was the star of the show. In the real world, Yoon Jae-hyung's Dex ID is also renowned, close to the legend of a god descending to win a 1v5 battle. This time, Yoon Jae-hyung again won the championship as Dex. The next second, the NPC referee tossed out a mysterious treasure chest containing all the equipment held by the players Yoon Jae-hyung had eliminated. Yoon Jae-hyung could freely choose any item from it as his reward. Upon opening it, a line of sought-after rare-level equipment was available for his selection. The NPC expected Yoon Jae-hyung to be surprised. But after searching for a while, he found nothing satisfactory. Yoon Jae-hyung scoffed, "What kind of junk is this? After all, if there's enough plausibility, I could even buy mythological-level equipment from Satan and Michael." But when Yoon Jae-hyung saw a particular item, his pupils dilated. And he began to repeatedly confirm with the NPC, "Can I really choose any one item from the eliminated player's equipment?" Curious, the NPC leaned in to look, and even she was shocked, struggling to speak. Yet, Yoon Jae-hyung stated emphatically, "This is indeed equipment held by an eliminated player. Great NPC Dakibi and I am. It's definitely okay to choose this, right? You just promised." At this moment, the NPC's CPU was nearly overheating. Due to technical issues, the official broadcast of the equipment selection had its audio cut off. But everyone saw the changing expressions of NPC Dakibi and I am. As the crowd wondered what Yoon Jae-hyung had chosen. The NPC finally spoke up. According to the rules, this one-hit bamboo spear indeed counts as player equipment. The bamboo spear can completely ignore all magical and physical defenses, and a hit to a vital point can result in instant death of the enemy. It's the only equipment that caught Yoon Jae-hyung's eye. At this very moment, due to Yoon Jae-hyung's choice, a board-level meeting was convened at the headquarters of Arcadia. The one-hit kill ability of the bamboo spear can target all creatures in Arcadia. Except for bosses, it can even kill NPCs. Then, President Lee Mayan decided to initiate authority intervention, logging into Arcadia with level 2 privileges. Just as she submitted a proposal to adjust the parameters of the bamboo spear weapon, the system rejected the change. Lee Mayan was puzzled. "Alice, please give me an explanation." Pop-up alert. Due to reaching the limit of unjust authority patches targeted at users, hearing this, Executive Kwon Minghan was shaken. The patch to maximize poison fog damage aimed at Yoon Jae-hyung was also issued by him using level 3 privileges. Seeing the evidence, Lee Mayan laughed ominously on the spot. "Executive Kwon Minghan, I need an explanation from you." At this moment, Yoon Jae-hyung in the game was holding the one-hit kill bamboo spear fondly. He pondered with a slight smile on his lips. What to do with it now? In Arcadia, just as Yoon Jae-hyun was considering how to cause chaos with the bamboo spear, a game pop-up alerted. Game administrator requests to summon player. Do you accept? Yoon Jae-hyun's eyes gleamed cunningly. It seems the officials have concocted their strategy. I'm curious what kind of bargaining chip they will offer in exchange. Pop-up alert. You have been transported to a special space where skills cannot be used. The beautiful elf player in front of him was the official spokesperson for the national server. The beautiful elf greeted politely. Nice to meet you, Dex. But Yoon Jae-hyun didn't want to hear those pleasantries. Please get to the point. The girl's voice carried a captivating melody. Dex, we are contacting you regarding the bamboo spear. Its existence poses a comprehensive threat to Arcadia. Of course, you obtained the bamboo spear legitimately, so we need your consent. For this, our national server's official department has proposed 3 options. The first is to limit the number of uses of the bamboo spear. The second is to restrict the targets it can be used against. And the third is to recall the bamboo spear and replace it with epic-level equipment. Of course, Lee Mayan was well aware that negotiations require leverage, and it must be something that Yoon Jae-hyun would find satisfactory. She clicked sent. Here is the compensation from the company. Take a look and then decide which option to choose. Upon seeing the compensation, Yoon Jae-hyun's eyes lit up. Lee Mayan was gambling, not knowing whether the chips she offered could really be used by Yoon Jae-hyun. After all, such chips are generally not usable by ordinary players. At this moment, Lee Mayan leaned in close to Yoon Jae-hyun and whispered affectionately, if you agree to the conditions this time, our operation team promises that we will never again add unjust patches against certain users. And this condition is my personal hidden trump card to persuade you. Yoon Jae-hyun understood immediately, you're an individual. What authority do you have to represent the company? Lee Mayan with a piercing gaze said, I bet the name of Arcadia's national server director on my promise to you. How could Yoon Jae-hyun, the top player in countless games, not know that the national server director of Arcadia was none other than the young Lee Mayan, president who created mythological? Such a figure would come to meet me alone. Lee Mayan's glance and smile captivated everyone. Lee Mayan smiled and said, thank you, Dex. Please look after us in the future. Pop-up alert. Agreement reached. The bamboo spear has been changed to a one-time use item. You have received 1 million points of plausibility as a reward, granting you permanent exemption from malicious patches. But what made Yoon Jae-hyun's heart race was a secret note from goddess Lee Mayan, clearly written with her office phone number. However, what Yoon Jae-hyun didn't know was that a team in the shadows was already watching him closely. To be specific, they were targeting his ID, Dex. After the bamboo spear battle, Yoon Jae-hyun's ID undoubtedly became the center of attention. Wherever players gathered, there was talk of Yoon Jae-hyun's career. Whenever a character dressed in a black robe appeared, it was bound to attract the players' attention. He had feared this, which was why he had acted anonymously before. Yoon Jae-hyun lamented, the damned official live broadcast made all my efforts go down the drain. The next moment, Yoon Jae-hyun spent 1,400 points of plausibility to summon Cephalus, just to escape the buzzing crowd as quickly as possible. Seeing Yoon Jae-hyun being so generous, Satan was surprised. Master, have you sensed some kind of fear that you would even summon divine descent to help you escape? Pestered by Satan and Michael with questions, Yoon Jae-hyun felt a headache coming on. Yoon Jae-hyun explained helplessly, I've been chased by a bunch of deranged stalkers for years. The scene shifts to the place where Yoon Jae-hyun just appeared, where a majestic man arrives sniffing around. He makes bystanders look up, just to confirm the appearance of the characters. Then she speaks threateningly with a grin, saying everyone must show their faces or there will be bloodshed. Clearly, they are the crazy fans who have been chasing Yoon Jae-hyun for years. Their guild is named What Dex Panty because it's short for what is Dex's panty color. Hence the gathering of more than 10 male and female members, all hardcore secret fans of Yoon Jae-hyun. Yoon Jae-hyun felt utterly despondent. Life is tough. Satan finally understood. Master, you have followers yet fear being exposed. Actually, Satan had experience with this. After I became a demon lord, a war for power erupted. In the end, I killed them all by myself. But such malignant challenges never end. And looking back, it took me a long time to create a mask. Pop-up alert. Mythological level equipment Deceiver's Mask. This mask can mimic any person's face according to the wearer's thoughts. And no one can see through to the true face underneath. Yoon Jae-hyun was quite surprised. Is there such a thing as a mythological level auxiliary equipment? Satan immediately made an offer. If the master needs it, I can lend it to you. Yoon Jae-hyun saw right through Satan's intentions. So how much plausibility do you want in return? Without hesitation, Satan replied. 100,000 plausibility, and I can lend it to you until you are laid to rest. To be honest, Yoon Jae-hyun was tempted. Physically shaking off stalkers was more efficient than any other method. Pop-up alert. You have put on the mythological level Deceiver's Mask, and your identity is completely concealed by the false appearance. Meanwhile, the What Dex Bonnie Guild, unable to find Yoon Jae-hyun, was very disappointed. Thus, the guild leader ordered anyone who provides a screenshot of Dex's appearance will get 10 gold coins per picture. The confident female mage declared. There's no way Dex can escape our grasp. Just then, a man in a white hair and black robe entered the bustling market. Yoon Jae-hyun marveled. Satan, this mask really works wonders. Not a single person recognizes me. But at that moment, Yoon Jae-hyun's attention was drawn to the news in the middle of the road. Recently, Arcadia has been expanding its weapons market, and a special piece of equipment in Rupel's tiers was auctioned off for as much as 10 billion. Does that mean the mythological level Deceiver's Mask on my face could fetch 100 billion at auction? The next second, Yoon Jae-hyun walked up to the What Dex Bonnie guild leader. The guild leader squinted his eyes and scrutinized him. This guy doesn't look like Dex, too bad. But why did I think he was Dex for a moment? In fact, Yoon Jae-hyun was just testing out. Satan, your mask really is excellent. Yoon Jae-hyun's only complaint about the mask was that the faces it created weren't as handsome as his own. Satan was stunned. Master, don't you read the equipment descriptions? You can choose any person you want to disguise as. Anyone you've ever seen, as long as you desire, can become your disguise. Upon confirming there are no restrictions on the disguise, Yoon Jae-hyun's lips curved into a sly smile. It feels like my heart can't stay calm anymore. Isn't it perfect to use this mask for the new mission I just updated? New mission. Please plunge the world into massive chaos and continually recruit helpers with a specific marker. Additional mission. Recruit Cassius. The second recruit. The mission only tells Yoon Jae-hyun that he is in the mines. As for Cassius, she's definitely roaming the map looking for the lost necklace. And as for the mines, who knows how many players Mikhail Baroness has now exploited into mining slaves. Yoon Jae-hyun comes here again, not to collect debts from the NPC lord, but for slave number 1 of the Otherworld mountain mine. He is the fastest miner here, yet recognized by the blacksmith ancestor through fate. And he is also the one Yoon Jae-hyun is guided to in his search for helper's mission. Yoon Jae-hyun ordered Goblin Chief, call over slave number 1 for me. Hearing the chief calling him to rest, the slave boy immediately bowed his head, saying he had completed his workload. Yoon Jae-hyun's lips curled into a mischievous smile. Kid, talk to me. Seeing the boy's astonished face, Yoon Jae-hyun said bluntly, I am here to grant you freedom. After the boy's lengthy explanation, it turned out he was blinded by the prospect of overnight riches and carelessly signed a servitude contract offered by an NPC, which means he has to be a slave in the game. This little guy is really honest. But just then, Michael suddenly noticed something unusual about the mine slave boy. He emits a fire attribute, a scent only those with absolute affinity for fire can emit. Maybe this little guy is naturally gifted as a blacksmith. Yoon Jae-hyun then said from a position of authority, Boy, if I give you freedom, would you go through fire and water for me? Without any hesitation, the boy agreed. If you rescue me from this hell, I am willing to devote myself to you. The The next second, the chains of the contract binding his character audibly snapped. A pop-up notification read, "I have shit hands as registered as an assistant." But when Yoon Jae-hyung opened the boy's ability panel, his pupils constricted. This kid was actually one of Arcadia's first beta testers. "Who exactly are you, kid?" The boy shuddered, his face full of surprise. "This account was a gift from a very clever friend of mine. It's my secret and even you, big brother, can't know." Yoon Jae-hyung breathed a sigh of relief. "As long as you're not some official's son or grandson, it's fine." Then moving on to business. "I need to do a performance test on you." What Yoon Jae-hyung meant by testing was monster killing. This guy's attacks were chaotic, clearly lacking in combat skills. And his crafting skills were nothing special either. It didn't make sense for someone who had been playing since the beta to be this bad. Could it be a punishment related to a hidden class? At this point, Michael stepped forward. "Master, for a blacksmith, strength and talent are indispensable, but they must also be able to infuse their soul into the items they forge. However, I believe these are not the most important traits for a blacksmith. What's crucial is the ability to stand before fierce flames, swinging a heavy hammer without giving up. It's that perseverance, that unyielding will and faith that forges truly outstanding equipment after thousands of strikes. This boy's willpower to keep mining in such harsh conditions surpasses anyone else." But Yoon Jae-hyung was puzzled. "Michael, why such high praise for a player all of a sudden? There's a lot involved with this matter." Michael began, but hesitated. Yoon Jae-hyung quickly interjected, "Michael, can you speak freely if there's enough plausibility to cover the consequences for you?" Thus, a pop-up notification appeared. "You have paid 150,000 points of plausibility. Secrets of the past are revealed to you alone." It turns out, even before the First Holy Demon War, there was a mythical era far more ancient. This era was home to countless deities, each governing their own desires with divine powers and attributes, such as gods of war, justice, time, and so forth. Back then, each of these gods had their own followers. However, due to a certain organization, that era was completely forgotten by humanity, leaving no trace behind. Yoon Jae-hyung finally understood, so that means a single sect massacred the other sects, claiming their god to be the one true god. And those gods who lost their followers eventually became forgotten deities, with no one even remembering their names. So my little brother is being watched by the oldest fire, referring to the blacksmith god, who is also the creator of the spirit that burns all demons. Once a mythological era godsmith, Volcanus, he is the one who's keeping an eye on the boy. Yoon Jae-hyung finally understood why the mission wanted me to take this kid under my wing. It turns out, he's meant to be trained as a legendary godsmith, and the strongest blacksmith race in Arcadia happens to be the Dwarf race. But it's unknown where they reside, as the Dwarf race hasn't been released in the game Arcadia yet. At this point, Satan volunteered. "My subordinates once encountered them underground, though it's a bit far from here, under a desert." After Yoon Jae-hyung pondered deeply, could it be that Satan is talking about one of the 5 forbidden areas, the rumor of Great Desert? It's said that no adventurer who has entered there has come out alive. Yoon Jae-hyung resolutely entered the desert. Yoon Jae-hyung took the young man with him. But the boy was so moved by the trash equipment Yoon Jae-hyung had given him that he cried tears of gratitude. He secretly vowed in his heart, "Big brother, I will follow you for life." Yoon Jae-hyung felt a bit guilty, considering the young man ended up as a mine slave partly because of his actions. Yoon Jae-hyung consoled him, "Don't mention it, just consider your severance pay for the mine work." What Yoon Jae-hyung didn't realize was that trying to navigate the vast desert to find the dwarf race would be nearly impossible. After 3 days and nights in the desert, the young man was sunburned to a crisp. However, Yoon Jae-hyung felt somewhat cool, having used plausibility to invoke divine descent and summon the celestial spirit Frost Witch. The queen's passive frozen heart effectively turned the host's body into an air conditioner. Occasionally, desert scorpions would pop up, but even if they were level 160 Lord monsters, Yoon Jae-hyung could freeze them with a chant and a wave of his hand. The inexperienced young man would finish them off. However, the young man treated the battles like mining, effortlessly finding leverage points and smashing the ice into shards. His constant looting, while boosting his level from 24 to 72, also earned him the title Effortless Freerider. But wandering aimlessly in the desert wasn't a solution, especially since maintaining the divine descent state to keep the air conditioning running was costly. Satan then came up with a new plan. Since we're looking for dwarves, why not use demon divine descent to summon a dwarf spirit to guide you? Isn't that better than an angelic divine descent? Thus, demon divine descent was initiated, summoning the dwarf spirit Skullbreaker Tyne. Terrifying demonic power instantly filled Yoon Jae-hyun's limbs, as the dwarf spirit temporarily lived through Yoon Jae-hyun's body. Tyne felt the scorching heat of the desert, recalling the glory days when he manipulated the hellfire for forging. Yoon Jae-hyun, baffled by the divine descent, said, "Senior, quickly check which direction the dwarf kingdom is in." Tyne sensed something and was shocked. He could feel the hellfire he once controlled right beneath Yoon Jae-hyun's feet. Tyne hurriedly pressed his ear to the ground and listened. "Yes, I'm sure there's a dwarf workshop below us." Just then, Yoon Jae-hyun told the young man to step back 100 meters. In the next instant, a forging hammer thicker than a man appeared in Yoon Jae-hyun's palm, which was also Tyne's weapon in life. The young man couldn't understand why Yoon Jae-hyun suddenly wanted a hammer. Yoon Jae-hyun revealed a mischievous smile. "Of course. I'm going to smash through the desert." The moment the hammer's tip hit the ground, fine cracks spread wildly. You should know this hammer carries a shatter effect. As the line spread, a hole 20 meters in diameter suddenly collapsed. Yoon Jae-hyun and the young man jumped into the abyss, falling a kilometer before seeing a glimmer of light. Yoon Jae-hyun was also surprised the dwarf kingdom was so deep, and at the same time, Tyne felt satisfied seeing the city again, fulfilling a past wish. Once Yoon Jae-hyun saw the living conditions of the dwarfs, he understood why this place was a cradle of talented blacksmiths, forging with lava as a catalyst. Perhaps only dwarfs had such a unique resource. Yoon Jae-hyun's pop-up notification read, "You have discovered a hidden area." Achieving legendary status by uncovering the final city of the dwarfs, Sandforge, for the first time. Reporting your findings to your affiliated kingdom can yield great rewards. This accomplishment earns you the title of Persistent Explorer, granting a 10-point increase in stamina and strength. Obtaining the dexterity stat, and slightly boosting the efficiency of production-related skills. Additionally, a new quest has been generated as a result of your discovery. New task, encounter the dwarfs. Forming a friendly relationship will allow humans to share the Grit Workshop. Forming a hostile relationship will lead to the Grit Workshop being blocked off to humans. Every dwarf bore a look of animosity. It's known that dwarfs harbor intense resentment towards other races. But their equipment crafting skills are absolutely top-notch. Seeing their underground city environment, it's clear these folks are insular. Yet, they immediately perceived Yoon Jae-hyun and his companion as invaders. Facing dwarfs charging with hammers, Yoon Jae-hyun had a method to subdue them. That was to summon the crushing hammer of the dwarf Tyne. As the hammer appeared, the charging dwarfs stopped dead in their tracks. Yoon Jae-hyun smirked condescendingly, now maximizing the energy of Tyne divine descent. "I am Tyne. How have you been since my passing?" The tone was unmistakably Lord Tyne's. All smiths dropped their forging hammers and slammed their left hand fiercely onto their right chest. This was the highest form of salute in dwarf culture. Yoon Jae-hyun mimicked the gesture, placing his hand on his chest. Pop-up notification, trust established with the dwarfs. Grit Workshop is now open to you. At that moment, a dwarf child asked Yoon Jae-hyun, "Is Lord Tyne watching over us from heaven?" Seeing Yoon Jae-hyun's puzzled look, Satan explained, "This guy likes smashing his opponents' heads with a hammer. Ask Michael if heaven would take him." Tyne quietly urged Yoon Jae-hyun not to reveal his whereabouts, but the child's hopeful expectation had to be fulfilled. So, Yoon Jae-hyun told a benign lie, "Lord Tyne is very happy in heaven." The boy's attitude suddenly changed. "Then I want to join the hammer assault team too, to smash the damn elf heads bravely like him." Yoon Jae-hyun was astounded, thinking they might meet in hell instead. Next, the child's father took Yoon Jae-hyung and his companion on a tour of the dwarf city. There were blacksmith shops everywhere, and every dwarf was an artisan-level blacksmith, craftsman, or architect. The boy pointed to one of the forges and introduced. "This one is my father's shop. In Grit Workshop, it's known as one of the top 3 master forges. My father's name is Byron, and he is one of the master blacksmiths of the dwarf city." Yoon Jae-hyung instructed his companion to bow and request apprenticeship. Master Byron pointed to a nearby apprentice blacksmith. "You two will have a contest. In the searing flames of the forge, whoever completes a weapon first will be considered the victor." The apprentice finished crafting a weapon first, producing a magic-grade crude short sword that, while not high tier, was well crafted. The companion followed suit but produced a crude short sword of the lowest quality that barely resembled a weapon. Byron responded to Yoon Jae-hyung, "Whether this young man can graduate depends on his destiny. It's fortunate enough that he found a master to teach him." So, Yoon Jae-hyung pleaded, "Please, Master Byron, it seems it's time for a temporary parting." My friend, seeing his companion downcast and reluctant to part, Yoon Jae-hyung asked him to hand over the hammer. Yoon Jae-hyung inspected the hammer. "This is indeed a basic forging hammer. Have you been using just this to mine and craft equipment?" Yoon Jae-hyung began tentatively infusing the hammer with plausibility. The next second, a pop-up notification appeared. "Enhancing this equipment will cost 350,000 points of plausibility." Yoon Jae-hyung was shocked. "Are you kidding me? Enhancing a broken hammer shouldn't cost this much. Little brother, you better be good to your big brother for a lifetime." The bestow plausibility skill activated. Instantly, a pillar of golden light arose from the center of the hammer. At that moment, a deep voice resonated in the young man's ears. "Young man, you still have many shortcomings and you cannot let my name shine because of you yet. You can only rely on endless effort to compensate for your inadequacies and like steel, overcome all hardships to become the divine blacksmith who will turn the continent upside down. Finally, let my oldest flame acknowledge you. I'll give you a gift, young fellow. In the name of the blacksmith god Vulcanus, I grant you a transformation." At that moment, the ordinary forging hammer visibly evolved into legendary status. The hammer was now named Hammer of Vulcanus, with infinite durability and imperviousness to any flame. Crucially, when equipped, it doubled the proficiency in any profession for the wearer. Only those recognized by Vulcanus can equip it. After enhancing the Hammer of Vulcanus for his apprentice, Yoon Jae-hyung advised him to diligently train and enhance his blacksmith skills. Hoping not to disgrace this legendary forging hammer, the apprentice vowed that if he becomes the strongest blacksmith, he will surely repay Yoon Jae-hyung for his kindness. At this moment, Yoon Jae-hyung's pop-up notification read, "Complete trust obtained. Helper system unlocked. In the future, you can obtain plausibility created by your helper." To date, Yoon Jae-hyung has acquired 3 helpers. The future duelist mage Angelina, the future weapon master Cassius, and the future master blacksmith I have shit hands. Yoon Jae-hyung is unaware that in the future, these 3 will emerge in Arcadia as players notorious for their villainy. Yet currently, Yoon Jae-hyung has something to verify. The extent of the disguise effect of the Deceiver's Mask, that is the mythological level Deceiver's Mask. Given the popularity of Arcadia, related live broadcasts have become incredibly diverse. The hottest channel naturally involves hunting in Arcadia. However, today the female broadcaster's challenge is to team up with players over level 100 and conquer the domain of the slimes. For the sake of the broadcast, she urgently needs to find a novice to join the team. This way, she can deliberately create a scenario where she appears to rescue a lower-level user. However, disguised Yoon Jae-hyung suddenly appears, and the broadcaster quickly approaches him, saying in a playful tone, "Hey, do you want to come catch slimes with us? I'm a level 100 plus mage, and he's a rank user at level 134. After pondering for a moment, Yoon Jae-hyung flashed a broad smile. "No problem, let's team up." Then he thought to himself, "A celebrity, I have a plan I want to try out." Satan and Michael are puzzled. "Master, why waste time here? Moreover, these 2 are definitely inviting you for their benefit. Yoon Jae-young's reasons are twofold. Firstly, to confirm the effectiveness of the deceiver's mask. And secondly, he has his own plans. In order to pull him into the team, the mage woman asked Yoon Jae-young for his account ID. Yoon Jae-young replied, "My nickname is I like choco cake." The girl clicked search, and indeed she was able to send a team invitation to this ID. Under the mask, Yoon Jae-young smirked, "It seems this mask can even disguise the ID. If I can make good use of this mask in the future, causing trouble will be virtually risk-free." Soon, the trio arrived at slime territory, each with their own agenda. The warrior thought about how to tank the monsters, the broadcaster thought about how to use the battle to boost her image, and Yoon Jae-young wondered, why are the little slimes just as cute as before? As the battle commenced, the live broadcast's chat became lively. The broadcaster continuously cast spells to fend off the slimes, while the warrior protected the team. And Yoon Jae-young slacked at the back of the team. Suddenly, the number of slimes in front of them surged, overwhelming their defenses and rushing towards Yoon Jae-young. Seizing the opportunity to boost her public image, the broadcaster immediately rushed in front of Yoon Jae-young to cast a protective spell. The slimes were annihilated, but the broadcaster was left in a critically low health state. The warriors still stood at the forefront, using a rare shield skill to knock back and stun the slimes. The chat exploded exactly as the broadcaster had hoped. The broadcaster secretly rejoiced, "As long as I can set a good image, a few more such assaults would be fine." But Yoon Jae-young was inspired by this. "It seems broadcasting isn't a bad idea for me either. I could use this opportunity to gather a following." Just then, the warrior and broadcaster finished off the wave of slimes. Seeing the female mage still broadcasting, Yoon Jae-young immediately jumped into the frame and asked, "Why don't we try challenging higher-level monsters? Like the orc territories?" For example, Yoon Jae-young's bold statement was immediately ridiculed by the viewers. But that was exactly the effect Yoon Jae-young wanted. "If the two of you are too scared to go, then I'll go alone to conquer it." A pop-up notification appears. "I like choco cake has left the party." Then, he turns to the camera and says, "By the way, if you guys want to see me solo the orc settlement, come to my stream. My channel is called Destroyer's Daily Logs." As soon as he says this, the chat room explodes. Not because Yoon Jae-young is particularly famous, but because the account Destroyer's Daily Logs is shrouded in mystery. With just 2 videos, the channel had gained 800,000 followers. People hurried to check it out and found that the owner was indeed live streaming. The female streamer was watching her own channel but suddenly found herself speechless. Because the online viewer count in her streaming room plummeted from 5,000 to 0 in the blink of an eye. All her viewers had been swept away by Yoon Jae-young. As soon as Yoon Jae-young started streaming, he faced skepticism. What can a level 52 do in the orc settlement? Yoon Jae-young responded, "I'll have friends helping me." The next second, Yoon Jae-young equipped the title savior of the slimes and called out to the slime queen. "Friends, come over here." In the next moment, the slime queen, along with her kind, rushed towards Yoon Jae-young and hugged him tightly. The viewers were stunned. Despite being just a level 52 newbie, he was standing on the shoulders of the slime queen. The chat began to wonder how he managed to get that title. Yoon Jae-young then announced, "Alright, friends, let's head to the orc settlement now." All the slimes in the territory began a massive assault on the orcs. Due to numerical superiority, most of the orc minions were killed by the slimes. At this moment, a level 120 orc legion commander emerged. Although the slime queen was larger, she was 20 levels lower. Facing the onslaught of the slime queen, the diminutive orc legion commander remained undaunted. He activated the skill Wild Charge, and the queen was knocked back 100 meters. Yet Yoon Jae-young smirked deviously, immediately spending 3,000 plausibility points to enhance the slime queen. A pop-up indicated, 4 to 5 minutes. All attributes of the slime queen increased by 30%. The next second, the corrosive slime from the slime queen directly covered the orc legion commander. It wasn't that he couldn't avoid the corrosive slime, but rather, the range of the slime queen's slime suddenly exploded. The pop-up read, "Orc Legion Commander has been defeated." Yoon Jae-young seized the moment to ask for followers. Hope to bring you all another visual feast next time, as the Slime Queen's corrosive liquid covered the entire orc territory. Only 1% of the orc forces remained. The slime population reached 99%. A pop-up announced, Slime Race has taken over the orc tribe's territory. Starting reconstruction to create an environment suitable for slimes. Slime Race Revival. Slime levels will be adjusted, and their capabilities will significantly increase. Slime guards at level 120 have emerged. Yoon Jae-young then reassured, now, it seems unlikely that many can catch slimes. But the evolution wasn't over yet. The originally level 100 Slime Queen evolved into a new entity, a level 200 Slime Monarch. The word terrifying swept across the screen again. Though the Slime Queen's size decreased, her new skill Shockwave could cover an entire 3 kilometers radius, causing even level 100 players to suffer a 30% drop in energy and a 50% reduction in movement speed. Yoon Jae-young's title, Sabater of the Slimes, was changed to Saint of the Slimes in gratitude from the Slime Monarch. All slimes would now unconditionally obey Yoon Jae-young's commands. This day's events spread across the official forums, prompting an emergency meeting by the national server officials. But Yoon Jae-young had legitimately utilized the game mechanics, and they could not sanction him. A few curious top-ranked players ventured into the slime's second territory, only to be annihilated by the slime army. Actually, even a level 120 slime's physique isn't that terrifying. But the real horror is that there are 120,000 such slimes. The once weakest slime now possesses the capability to engulf the continent of Arcadia. All game players have started paying attention to the slimes, and naturally, they also focus on their master. Overnight, Destroyer's daily log skyrocketed from its original 800,000 subscriptions to 36 million. Yoon Jae-young's mailbox was flooded in an instant. Yoon Jae-young called Iplis to inquire about signing a contract. Then, Yoon Jae-young arrived at the Iplis Entertainment Building, where a middle-aged uncle warmly greeted him. At that moment, Yoon Jae-young was wearing a mask and hat to conceal his identity. Do you have other content creators who have a partnership with your company? Because I would like to hand over video editing to you and hope to see some examples. The uncle panicked instantly. This. We are actually a newly established company. We definitely won't let you down. All our staff are experts who have gained a lot of experience in the marketing and promotion department at GM Group. It turned out that the video Yoon Jae-young posted caused the entire marketing and promotions department at GM Group to be disbanded. And this uncle was an employee who had been laid off and then started this company. Initially, he had no confidence in signing Yoon Jae-young, especially since their startup had no track record. Unexpectedly, Yoon Jae-young agreed. However, I have one condition. Under no circumstances may any information about my identity be provided to anyone, not family, nor friends, no one. After hearing this, the uncle happily agreed. After all, the other party was the mysterious player who shook GM Group. After that, Yoon Jae-young took off his disguise. Then let's sign the contract. Then, the uncle played the video Yoon Jae-young had sent. The video was of a city of dwarfs. After editing, the video was uploaded and immediately caused a sensation. So there are such areas never seen before. Dwarfs? Wait, where is this? Wow, equipment made by dwarfs. But it seems a lot of content has been cut out. The secrets of the dungeon, once released, directly surged to 37 million subscribers. Then Yoon Jae-young contacted the uncle again. I have sent another video to your mailbox. Can you edit that segment in and upload it together? Please do not hide any information related to the equipment shown in the video. The uncle opened the video and spit out his coffee. It was the mythical equipment, Vulcan's hammer. Once the video of this equipment was released, Arcadia headquarters immediately called an emergency meeting, and countless users dropped their daily tasks to flock to the rumored desert, eagerly seeking the treasures hidden within the desert. Alice, the intelligent brain, issues tasks based on real-time situations and mediates the relationship between dwarfs and elves. At this moment, Yoon Jae-young is preparing to win over the elves, while Satan must return to the underworld due to urgent matters. After Satan leaves, Michael reveals a sinister smile. It turns out that it was Michael who had sent someone to the underworld to create chaos and draw Satan away. Yoon Jae-young, puzzled, said, "Why go to such lengths?" An incident that devastated the sanctuary of Pin Mountain. You haven't forgotten, right? Anyway, you were deceived by the damn devil, right? Any evil deed committed in ignorance can be forgiven, right? After hearing this, Yoon Jae-young's mouth twitched, so that's how it is. But it seems Satan tried to stop me. At this time, Yoon Jae-young arrived at Logarithmic Amul. According to information provided by the dwarfs, the elves are somewhere around here. Indeed, it really is a good place. Earlier, when Yoon Jae-young asked Michael about using the souls of elves for a divine descent, the response he received was, if elves die, they do not go to heaven or the demon world, but all go to the elf realm, so it is not possible to use the souls of elves for divine descent. However, Michael thought of another method. There are no elf souls in heaven, but there are humans who had a close relationship with them. The divine bow Amelia. Amelia points towards the forest ahead. Passing through this ancient forest will lead to the town of the elves. But be careful, as the fierce spirits of ancient trees inhabit this area. Sure enough, upon entering the forest, they encounter the spirit of the ancient tree. Yoon Jae-young immediately activated Amelia's passive skill. The eyes that see through everything are activated. Ignoring the opponent's defense, an arrow pierced through the body of the ancient tree spirit. Yoon Jae-young pressed the attack, activating the skill Heavy Rain, and a rain of arrows fell, strangling the spirit of the ancient tree. Yoon Jae-young continued on his way, and in the darkness, two elves watched him. As he reached the edge of the elves' domain, Amelia pleaded, "Please check if the elf named Pale is still alive. If he is, please kill him in the most painful way. Cruelly finish off that guy. Pale's life was supposed to end at the hands of the dwarfs, but I saved him, truly resolved to die. With that as a turning point, we made an eternal vow of love. But that treacherous guy betrayed me, always mingling with other elves. Otherwise, you don't have to kill him. Just beat him until he's barely alive, hanging by a thread. That would work too. Please do me this favor." Recalling painful memories, Amelia started sobbing. Yoon Jae-young verbally agreed, but internally he was exasperated. Heavenly beings are all neurotic. At this moment, the system also popped up a mission, make Elf Pale dead or dying. Michael then flew out inside. The lifespan of the elf body is long, and there is no concept of being completely faithful to one person like humans do. Well, I'm sorry, I asked too much. But I don't have the confidence to face Pale again. As Amelia's feelings changed, the mission that had just been issued was deleted. Suddenly, an arrow flew straight towards them, striking the ground nearby. A group of female elves then came out with bows and arrows, and Yoon Jae-young was blindfolded and taken away. Yoon Jae-young had intended to use this opportunity to figure out the location of their main base, but he was blindfolded and had his hands tied for over an hour. Now he had completely lost his sense of direction. Then, Yoon Jae-young was brought before the world. After the elves chanting, a portal to an elf settlement was opened. Legendary achievement. We were the first to discover the elves' haven. Where the world tree is short. The efficiency of archery attacks slightly increases. Affinity with nature increases slightly. Spirit affinity has been added. Mythical achievement. I witnessed the world tree, which is only talked about in legends and tales. Obtain the person who witnessed the myth. Maximum health permanently increases by 1000. Yoon Jae-young was thrilled. That's the world tree. Idrosil. However, what's the deal with that sword? Satan. What on earth have you been doing? Sure enough, as soon as Yoon Jae-young entered the Elven territory, he was called ugly by the elves. Mom, he's so ugly. Are all humans like this? He looks really fierce. At that moment, the queen of the elves, Melissa, stepped forward. I just want to ask you one thing. the archery you use against monsters, how did you learn it? After hearing that it was Amelia's archery, the elves instantly began murmuring. Impossible. Hasn't she been dead for a long time? Then the queen took Yoon Jae-young aside for a private talk. Yoon Jae-young could only try to bluff his way through. Yes, she died hundreds of years ago. And I didn't learn directly from her. You can think of it as a branch of the archery she founded. That Amelia. What kind of person was she? Why does everyone seem to welcome her so coldly? She really was a crazy woman. She would pester any good-looking elf she saw. She was particularly obsessed with an elf named Pale. To a frightening extent. When she was drunk, she went to him and threatened to shoot him with an arrow if he didn't marry her. Because of her, I waited 40 years. And only after she died did I finally get together with Pale. Then Yoon Jae-young took out a trade agreement document. Let me introduce you. I am a representative peace delegation from the human race who visited Sand of Forge. This is not just a proposal for trade in goods, but a peace treaty between races. The queen was very surprised. It's incredible that the dwarfs, who have such a strong sense of racial superiority, would make such a proposal. But I am very sorry. I think I cannot accept this proposal. Yoon Jae-young was shocked. What is the reason? I think this issue should not be known to humans. If you have said all you need to, then you should go back for now. Mission alert. Peace treaty with elves broken down. The peace mission failed. Just as Yoon Jae-young was at a loss, Michael flew out. How? My suggestion. Would you like to take a listen? Originally, one day, a war suddenly covered Arcadia with blood. Holy Demon War. It was the World Tree, not any of the tribes, that saved countless lives that were bleeding to death. Skill Area declared, it is impossible for any creature to use attack skills within that range. The power of the World Tree that causes combat power-related values to plummet. Thanks to this skill, battles around the World Tree were naturally avoided. The realm of the World Tree became a haven for many weak people, who prayed for the war of transcendent beings to end. However, the Holy Demon War did not end so easily. And Deathbringer, the magic of the demonic world that engulfs everything in darkness and corrupts it. For some reason, that horrible object ended up getting stuck in the pillar of the World Tree. So, since then, the elves have been busy protecting the World Tree. Therefore, trade that involves the risk of exposing the location of the World Tree to the outside world is unlikely to be an option for the elves. That's why the Queen rejected Dex's offer. Now I understand. So you want me to destroy that Deathbringer? Is this it? Thus, Yoon Jae-young again came before the Queen, requesting her to take him to one last place. Then Yoon Jae-young arrived near the World Tree. Somewhat helplessly. Michael, the so-called artifact of the demonic world, shouldn't be something that a guy like me can just destroy, right? Michael rummaged through his pocket and pulled out an artifact. The end of eternity. Artifact against artifact. That's the simple formula. Then Yoon Jae-young raised the holy sword. And the nearby queen was shocked. The end of eternity. Why on earth is that sword on this continent? Now, can you tell me how it is in your hands? Just think of it as having some connections with the heavens. It feels like more than just some connections, doesn't it? Don't you think this answer is nonsensical from a common sense perspective? That sword is a holy sword well among elves. You're not even of a holy class, yet you hold it. What exactly is going on? Well, I think this question should probably not be known to the elves. That's what I just said. Rather than that, I would like to continue discussing the previous negotiation topic. What do you think about slightly modifying the conditions? You are hesitating about whether to interact with the dwarfs. No, the reason you have been hiding the existence of elves is because of the World Tree, right? Please sign a peace treaty with the dwarfs and start friendly exchanges with them. If you promise to do this, I can liberate the World Tree from the darkness that has been consuming it, gaining complete freedom. If, as you just said, you, a human, can eliminate the evil root consuming the world tree and rescue our mother from her eternal suffering to bring her back to us again. In the name of Melissa de Artemis, the queen who leads the Greenleaf clan, I will accept all your suggestions. Then Yoon Jae-young put on a mask and started a live stream. Nice to see you all again, everyone. Today's content is about saving the world tree. Yoon Jae-young leaped up with his sword and struck down. Deathbringer senses a deadly threat. It exerts its powers for its own protection. Then Yoon Jae-young was forcefully repelled back, and Deathbringer was pulled out from the world tree, seeking a new host to consume. Giganti Ogre of the Great Forest Emil then quickly flew towards Giganti Ogre. Boss Monster, a stiff warrior of majesty, has been created. Seeing this, the elves launched their attacks. A barrage of attacks hit the boss's head, but didn't harm it at all, instead provoking the boss to anger. With one swing, the elves who had just attacked were all swept away, turned to ashes. The comments boiled over. Damn, are we and the streamer playing the same game? Yoon Jae-young was also stunned. I didn't expect things to get this big. How about we call Satan over while it's still not too late? Satan should be able to calm it down, right? However, Michael flatly refused. No, the stinking bats are restrained precisely because they lost that artifact. If they were to regain it, they would certainly become arrogant again. Lord Dex, let's not rely on the stinking bats. At this time, at the Arcadia Korea branch, a customer service representative pointed at the screen, sweating profusely. An executive leaned in for a closer look and was stunned. A six-winged angel reappearing on Earth. It turns out Michael proposed to use Yoon Jae-young's body to descend personally and directly address the current situation. Yoon Jae-young, hearing this, got a bit panicked. You're going to show up personally, but wouldn't that consume a lot of plausibility? Let's call Satan instead. Let him calm down, Deathbringer. You don't think I'm going to use up your plausibility, do you? Is your little bit of plausibility enough for me to descend? Despite how I look, my body is also very precious. Don't worry. After all, this is my plan. And it's my responsibility that it ended up like this. So let the heavens clean up the mess. Reluctantly, Yoon Jae-young could only compromise. Is that so? Since you say so, then let's do it your way. The next second, a beam of golden light descended from the sky and the six-winged angel Michael arrived on Earth. Michael raised her holy sword and gently swept it across. A circle of holy light hundreds of meters in diameter descended upon the Earth. Yoon Jae-young, seeing this, was astonished. Are we really using the same equipment? When the holy light dispersed, the land around the boss had turned into lava, but the boss still had not fallen. Deathbringer has sensed a deadly threat. Deathbringer enters a defensive stance, harvests the host's remaining life force. Seeing this, Michael became even more excited. Oh, a mere stinking bat's broken blade dares to resist? How arrogant. I want to see how long you can hold out. Michael struck again with his sword, and Deathbringer finally could not withstand it and cracked open. The power of destruction is activated. Absolute judgment. The energy permeates away at the point. The purification of the world tree infected with evil has been completed. The favorability of the elves increases to the maximum. You have acquired the hero of the elves. Obtain the guardian of the world tree. At this moment in the underworld, Satan was suffering from a headache. He sensed the Deathbringer had been destroyed. Damn that stinking bird. Meanwhile, Michael was collecting the fragments to prevent them from falling into the wrong hands and being used for evil purposes. At that moment, Satan, furious, burst out. Hey Michael, let's give it a real try with me. At the Arcadia Korea branch customer service department, due to the false information previously spread by Yoon Jae-young, the customer service department was in chaos, overwhelmed with countless complaints. Many people, seeking information and tasks related to elves and dwarfs, undertook various strange attempts with the false information. Of course, they ultimately achieved nothing and their dissatisfaction grew. The uncle was also troubled by this issue, and just then Yoon Jae-hyung called, asking the uncle to publicly disclose the locations of the elves and dwarfs. The uncle was shocked and quickly advised that it was not appropriate, suggesting instead not to disclose the information. How about we produce and upload some videos about the dwarf and elf villages? What do you think about that? No, why should we upload that kind of boring content? Besides, even if they knew the locations of the villages, it would be difficult for them to obtain what they want after going there. At that moment, Satan was still venting his anger. You backstabbing, chicken-winged bastard. Today I'm going to have fried chicken. The two of them started fighting again. Yoon Jae-hyung, looking exasperated, suddenly received a request from the World Tree for a conversation. Yoon Jae-hyung was somewhat shocked. The World Tree actually had self-awareness. Immediately, a green light rose from Yoon Jae-hyung's feet, and his vision became blurry. A little girl with green hair appeared before Yoon Jae-hyung. Are you the World Tree? Many names have been given to me by others, but most of the existing life forms call me by this name. First of all, I must thank you. Thanks to you, I was able to rid myself of its evil magic. Then why are you seeking me? To express gratitude is just one of the reasons. Then the little girl moved closer to Yoon Jae-hyung, realizing that Yoon Jae-hyung was just an ordinary person. To thank Yoon Jae-hyung, the World Tree produced a golden apple. I have seen your potential, so I ask for your help with something. The voice of the World Tree conveyed a plea. A new mission was established. The continent of Arcadia was originally a whole, but now it has been divided into many parts. The World Tree, having awakened from its slumber, hopes to merge the fragmented continent back into a whole. The material needed is the heart of a dragon. Yoon Jae-hyung asked in shock. Are you saying, you want me to find the heart of a giant dragon? That's right. The World Tree confirmed his question. Arcadia was a vast whole until the Holy Demon War, after which the World Tree fell into slumber and the continent split. Now, with the awakening of the World Tree, she wishes to restore the originally unified continent. You want me to do what? Merge the entire continent? Yoon Jae-hyung's voice was filled with doubt. Yes, the voice of the World Tree became gentle. When you feel you have enough strength, bring me what I need. That is the heart of a dragon. I have one more request. I need the heart of an ancient dragon or older. Otherwise, the effect won't be significant. Yoon Jae-hyung was momentarily speechless, unable to believe this seemingly impossible task. Before he could react, the dream suddenly ended, and he was transported out. When he awoke, he found himself surrounded by several elves. They told him that he had been asleep for a long time. Just then, a queen walked in. Seeing Yoon Jae-hyung awake, she happily grabbed his hand. The World Tree has awakened. It's over. Around them, many elves danced around the World Tree, tears sparkling in their eyes. Yoon Jae-hyung, holding the golden apple in his hand, couldn't help but wonder if it was all just a dream. Then, he asked the queen, "Queen, do you have a dragon's heart?" The queen was shocked after hearing this, clearly surprised by the request. Currently, major forums are abuzz with discussions about the specific locations of dwarves and elves. But the officials of Arcadia have explicitly stated that they will not disclose the locations of the elf and dwarf villages. They hope that players will find joy in the natural adventure and exploration. This strategy by the gaming company has intensified discussions among players. Thus, players began to search more actively for traces of elves and dwarves. Meanwhile, the queen announced to her people that, due to the awakening of the World Tree, a large number of humans would be entering their village in the future. She declared, historically, our race and humans, who are not particularly attractive, have not interacted deeply, but our World Tree has awakened. It was Lord Dex who helped her recover. To repay his kindness, we should open our doors this year and welcome humans to come and go. At this time, a clansman asked, "Your Majesty the Queen, can we treat those humans who are too ugly differently?" The Queen's face flushed slightly as she answered, "That is an unavoidable matter. At the same time, the GM Guild began actively searching for the locations of the Dwarf underground city and the Elven villages. They found a possible location for the Dwarf underground city through professional adventurers, but the price was very high, reaching up to 100 million. Although it was annoying, the GM Guild had to spend a huge amount of money to buy this information. If they could find these villages first, they could ensure a monopolistic position and trade with them. The GM Guild was determined to be the first to find the Dwarf village. Just then, a new video was uploaded on the Destroyer's Daily Life channel, directly revealing the locations of the Dwarf and Elven villages. In Arcadia, there are various professions, and players generally categorize these into two main types, combat and non-combat. In detail, each profession has its own characteristics and specializations, meaning that the developers have already considered balance when setting the professions. No profession is regarded as superior or inferior. However, in all games, there are inevitably some professions that are more popular and some that are not favored. Explorers are exactly the profession that people despise. They think that this profession relies on luck to earn substantial rewards. At this moment, an explorer carrying a backpack was very displeased, as many people looked down on explorers, but there was nothing he could do about it. Even his friends didn't understand him. A group of people mocked him, giving him all sorts of advice. But he just wanted a good gaming experience. He retorted, "Is it really that strange? I don't understand why they care about efficiency in the game. Just wait and see. One day I will surprise everyone." Spring for the explorer had arrived. He found the entrance to the Dwarf underground city. After entering the underground city, he was ecstatic, but suddenly a net caught him, and he fell into a trap. A group of dwarfs surrounded him. "Arrogant human, you dare to break into our underground passages. What are your intentions? To steal our creations?" The explorer broke out in a cold sweat, pleading with them to release him. "I'm not some weirdo. I'm just an ordinary explorer, really." Despite his pleas, the dwarfs were unyielding and decided to lock him in the deepest part of the underground, never to see sunlight again. The explorer was at a loss for words. "Am I going to be locked up here forever?" Suddenly, they began whispering among themselves. And then they removed the net from him. The dwarfs apologized. Sorry about that. The incident happened so suddenly. We didn't look closely and didn't realize you have our bloodline. No human could be almost as tall as us. You clearly have our bloodline." The explorer was speechless, so that was it. Meanwhile, the uncle was looking distressed as he sat across from the GM Guild's minister. The uncle was very displeased. He had been dismissed by the GM Guild before. "Just tell me what you're here for." At that moment, the other party presented a document. The GM group wanted to acquire the company he founded. "We will offer you a treatment at the level of an executive director, which is already very generous." The uncle snorted disdainfully. "Is it because I like chocolate cake?" Recently, many people have been inquiring about his identity information. GM Group has always liked to engage in distasteful activities, so we could never join you. Go away. I would rather die than give you our client's information. The other party left in anger. "You are making a big mistake. Countless companies have already started digging for his information. It's just about finding hidden villages. Do you think those promotional videos will last?" Unbeknownst to them, the uncle just laughed. "What are you talking about? It seems you haven't really watched those videos. Your company operates really well." Ha! Soon after, the locations of the dwarf and elf villages were revealed in a video. Players began visiting these places, which sparked intense discussions in the evening. Most of the debate focused on the different attitudes of the races towards the appearance of players. Elves would immediately send away those who were not good-looking, while dwarfs tended to welcome players who were ugly and short. Players who successfully entered the villages shared their experiences, including obtaining exquisite equipment from the dwarfs and magical skills inherited from the elves. The characteristics of the two races were very distinct, but because of the strict entry conditions, players did not have much choice. Surprisingly, this change not only affected the player community, but as various discussions and information exploded. The entire continent of Arcadia also experienced a wind of transformation. On Arcadia's forums, the discussion was focused on a series of strange incidents, including the bamboo spear incident and the slime destroys novice village incident. Yoon Jae-young observing these discussions, he felt somewhat wronged. Sorry, I'm innocent too. I was just completing that plausibility mission. Oh well, what do they know? I'm also trying to make a living.